Welcome to Dem Boyz, a podcast that's watching the Super Bowl just for the commercials. We're one Saints fan and one Cowboys fan, one fan of who dat and one fan of dat win. We're here to give weekly takes, game recaps, bad betting picks, game previews, and the occasional Seinfeld reference.
During this playoff season, we are highlighting each week one Saint and one Cowboy who won a Super Bowl with each team. This week, our patron saint is kicker Garrett Hartley. Hartley attended the University of Oklahoma and was originally signed in April of 2008 by the Denver Broncos before being released in July of the same year. From there, the Saints signed Hartley in October of 2008, and during that season, Hartley would make 13 of 13 field goal attempts. Prior to 2009, Hartley was suspended for testing positive for a banned substance, Adderall, easy for me to say, and was inactive up until the Saints' 12th game. I do believe he was dealing with an injury in addition to that suspension. Upon his return, Hartley would set the record for most consecutive field goals to start a career, 16, a record that was broken in 2012 by Kai Forbath of the Washington football team.
Cowboy legend.
Cowboy legend, yes. Saints legend, too, I believe.
I think so.
Yeah. Hartley's shining moment as a Saint would be on January 24th, 2010. He kicked a 40-yard field goal in overtime to defeat the Minnesota Vikings and send the Saints to Super Bowl 44. In that Super Bowl, he would go on to make 3 field goals. All 3 are 40 or more yards, making him the first kicker in Super Bowl history to accomplish such a feat. No pun intended. From there, Hartley remained with the Saints until December of 2013 when he was waived. A year later, he was signed by the Cleveland Browns, appeared in 2 games, and then was released. In 2015, he was signed by the Steelers. In August, he was put on IR in September and then released in October and has not played in the NFL since. So if you're keeping score at home, you can use Garrett Hartley as a Saints-Browns Immaculate Grid match, but you cannot use him for the Steelers because he didn't play the game.
Gotcha. Our patron Cowboy this week is kicker, also a kicker, Eddie Murray. A native of Halifax, Nova Scotia, Murray attended Tulane before being drafted in the 7th round of the 1980 NFL draft by the Detroit Lions. Detroit drafting a kicker, very strong, aggressive move there. He spent more than a decade in Detroit, though, before splitting the 1992 season between Tampa Bay and Kansas City. In 1993, he joined the Cowboys and was a member of the Super Bowl 28 winning team. The next 2 seasons were spent in Washington and Philadelphia. And he skipped the 1996 season and spent 1997 in Minnesota, skipped the 1998 season, and then returned to Dallas in 1999 and Washington in 2000 before finally retiring at the ripe old age of 44. Played for both teams in the Super Bowl this year and 3 of the 4 teams in the conference championships. So Now I'm Brandon, the Cowboys fan.
And I'm Paul, the Saints fan. And we're your hosts.
Now, Izzy, tell him what time it is.
Yeah, that's it. It's go time. Let's see you lift that.
Mr. Mandelbaum, please.
It's go time.
This one's for you, Pop. It's go time.
It's go time.
You've been married 3 times.
That's it! It's go time!
It's go time.
I don't know why Mickey got me this week.
That's it. It's go time.
That's it. It's go time. You we threw a little curveball there at the end of that one. So
a little bit.
That's all right. Keep everybody on their toes. If you'd like to contact the show, you can contact us at Bless Dem Boyz, BLESSDEM BOYZ @gmail.com. We're still on Twitter. LeBron, Coach Belichick. We're still waiting for a follow. Did we ever land on who the next quasi celebrity we should try to?
How about Liam Coen?
There you go. I know he's on Twitter. I know his wife's on Twitter. We'll talk about that.
Or I got another one that we could follow, or that we could ask to follow, who's having a great time on Twitter right now, and
Go
that
ahead.
would be Mr. Ben Solak.
What happened with? Okay, so I know.
Are you familiar with this?
Well, I know who Ben Solak is, and I know. Is this the Shakir thing?
Yeah, he said, why don't you? Alan should have gone to Shakir based on like the kind of what the play was, and then like,
okay,
but then his breakdown, like I saw multiple other breakdowns say like, hey, he's got a man in his face right there, and also his body's turned. And if he's reading it out,
yeah,
immediately, like when he first looks at Shakir, when he's got time before he turns his body the other way, like Shakir hasn't cleared out, so the defense hasn't gone empty enough to, like, if he throws it to Shakir immediately, like, he's going to be tackled short of the sticks anyway. But then there were a lot of players who were also like Ryan Leaf was saying somebody should put a boot up this guy's butt.
I didn't see that. Okay.
Yeah. Ryan Leaf, famously great at reading defenses, apparently. That worked out for him.
And he handles the media quite well, too, as I recall.
Oh, yes.
Well, you know what, Ben, if you're listening, give us a follow. Hey, come on the show. We'll
we'll listen to your video breakdowns.
Yeah,
we won't tell you. We won't come try to put a boot up your
He knows more. He knows more than me. I mean,
that's.
And Ben, if you're looking for us, we're at bless_dem_boys, capital B, capital D, capital B. I myself am at Paul Elliott _316, PAULELLIOTT. And Brandon is at Ball from Grace. And now, boys and girls, you can find us on Blue Sky.
We're skeeting.
Okay, so
that's what they call it.
Hold on.
Pause.
Let's just put a halt to proceedings for a second. Do you know the other use of that term?
I'm aware.
Good. But all right. Well, then we'll just move on from there. And
I've heard the Little John song.
Okay.
Or excuse me, Lil John, not Little John.
I've seen the Chappelle Show skit. Yeah, I know what it's all about. If you, I don't know how we can transition out of this, but we'll try.
How are we going to salvage this one?
If you want to keep listening to us after all that, you can do so on Spotify and Apple. Please like, share, subscribe, leave a rating and review. Hey, Ryan Leaf, if you want to tell us the people to put a boot up our backsides, go ahead and do so. Appreciate all the feedback, even from Ryan Leaf. And tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell random strangers on the street.
Tell the bots.
Yeah. By the way, apparently we have listeners in Russia.
We do. I was checking our Spotify numbers. We have like 4.5% of listens in Russia.
I don't know. Is that Yuri Testikov, you think?
Testikov, the Russian writer? Yeah. Perhaps.
Maybe he's got War and Peace on audiobook. Maybe he was listening to that.
Or maybe he was listening to War. What is it good for?
Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely nothing.
Not Elaine's finest hour.
No, not quite.
All right, so we'll get more into the football talk here, but before we do so, we at Bless Them Boys, we do pride ourselves on being able to talk about other things.
But enough about fish. I can discuss other things, you know.
All right, Brandon, what you get up to this week?
So we talked about this last week on the show, but I did get to sit down and watch Airplane this weekend with my dad, who was in for the we did a 5K with me, my dad, and my oldest. So we did that on Saturday, and then Saturday night my dad brought his copy of Airplane down, and so we sat and watched that for the evening.
Good man.
Great movie.
Speaking of our good friend Izzy Mandelbaum, as we mentioned.
There's also a character, one of the main female characters is named Elaine in the show.
That's right. That's right.
And I want to say that the character played by, I can't remember the actor's name, but he hosted Unsolved Mysteries. That's what I know him for.
Oh, Robert Stack. Is it Robert Stack? I
Yeah,
think that's his name.
yeah. I want to say his character's last name was Kramer as well.
You might be right. I'll check.
Yeah.
Let me check on that while you're.
Yeah, so we watched that. Movie's great as always. I can't. If you look at some of the stuff in there, though, like that movie has a PG rating, which I do not think you would get a PG. How did that?
Yeah, that is definitely a 1980 PG rating. If
Oh,
you
yeah.
catch my drift. Yeah.
Parental
So let's
guidance.
see here. Robert Stack. Yeah, Rex Kramer. Captain Rex
Yep.
Kramer is his name. Yep.
So a couple of Seinfeld mini connections there, besides apart from the Izzy Mandelbaum.
Lloyd Bridges. Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite thing is on the IMDb for Airplane, the inflatable that inflatable pilot.
Autopilot. Yeah.
Otto has his own like page on IMDb.
Yeah, I don't know how. I love the part where I love Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in there, where he's like Roger Murdoch, and he's like, "No, you're Kareem Abdul-Jabbar." He's like, "My dad says you loaf on defense." He's like, "Hey, you tell your dad to drag Bill Laimbeer off the court."
And then when he gets sick, doesn't he like change back?
Oh, he turns
uniform?
back, yeah. And then I think at one point he's also got the goggles on.
He does, yeah, yeah. They're dragging him out of the cockpit, and he's got the goggles on and all that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, classic movie. Yes, still holds up. Doctor, we need to get this man to a hospital. Doctor, what is it? It's a big building with patients.
That's not important. That's good stuff, man.
I finished The Law of Lydia Poet, the Italian detective drama that I had previously started a few episodes back. So I finished that, and then today I listened to. Are you familiar with Mac Miller?
I know the name. I'm not as fluent in his music, but I know I've heard of him.
Yeah, I've never really listened to much of his stuff, but he had an album come out. I want to say like last Friday, or fairly recently, within the past couple of weeks. Released posthumously. Posthumously, yes. That called Balloonerism. So I kind of like went out of my way to like listen to that today while I was at the gym. It was really good. I actually like enjoyed it. Kind of depressing though, just because he had addiction problems, and you can kind of hear that in the music, and so it's kind of sad. But also the music was good, but it's also like kind of sad as well.
I'm looking at the album right now on Apple Music, and I do appreciate the fact he has a song titled "Mrs. Deborah Downer."
Yeah.
That's
about what
there.
you're in for. But it was good. He's from Pittsburgh. Which you don't see a lot of rap artists from Pittsburgh, I don't think. Actually, I think the Black and Yellow song is also from Pittsburgh.
Yeah, is that Khalifa? And that was Khalifa?
Yeah. I think Wiz Khalifa actually might be from Pittsburgh too.
He might be. Well, or he's just a Steelers fan.
He's also the one who had "We Dem Boyz," which is the song that actually ended up being a Cowboys anthem around 2014.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah, so
and
that's a Cowboys connection there.
And that's what led us to calling this show "Bless Dem Boyz."
That is correct.
So salute to Mr. Khalifa.
Yep. All right, Paul. How about you?
Okay. Well, since we're on music, I guess I'll start with that. I want to workshop this with you a little, maybe not recurring segment, but just something. I started a playlist on Apple Music called "Songs Stuck in My Head." So basically, what I decided to do is like if I get a song stuck in my head, I'm just gonna pull it up on Apple Music, listen to it, and then just add it to this playlist. So here's a couple of songs that got stuck in my head this week. "Bang the Drum All Day" by Todd Rundgren. Rundgren. Sorry,
Is that the
it's what you
uh,
think it is. Yeah. I don't want to work.
want to
I want
bang
to bang
bang
on the
on the
drum all
drum
day.
on?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think of the
Yeah.
Office when I think of that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think
and then a song by we may have talked about this band before. I think we have Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats.
yes.
Okay, they have a
I don't know
song
if we
called
talked about it on the show, but we have definitely talked about
okay.
them
You and I have
offline.
definitely talked about it. Yeah.
Yes.
They have a song called I Need Never Get Old.
Mm-hmm.
That was stuck in my head the other day. And then I talked to this is going back a couple weeks, but we talked about the show Shrinking
Mm-hmm.
on Apple. One of
Mm-hmm.
the songs from that show that I just could not get out of my head is called Letting Go. It's by an artist named Angie McMahon.
Not related to Jim. No relation to Jim McMahon.
No relation to Jim McMahon or Vince McMahon.
Okay, that was going to be my my next question.
No relation to any of the McMahons, or at least not that I'm aware of.
Speaking of Jim McMahon, I need to finish today's immaculate grid.
Fair enough. And then these other two, so as I'm on Apple Music and I'm making this playlist, it came to my knowledge that the Doobie Brothers had a new song out.
I didn't know they were still making music.
I didn't either. Well, I don't know if it's a new song, but it's called "Walk This Road" and it features Mavis Staples. So I'm like, let me turn it on and see. And the first sounds I hear are Michael McDonald's voice, and I knew I was in good shape.
There you go.
So called Walk This Road. And then today, actually, we've talked about this band before, Goose.
Yes.
They released their first single off their new album. The single is called Give It Time. The album is called what is it? Hang on, let me find it real quick.
When's that slated for? When's the album supposed to come out?
The album is called Everything Must Go, and it's slated for release April 25th. Now, I say it's a new song. I think, after looking into it a little bit, I think these are songs that they've been playing live for a while, but now they're just
Recording
releasing
them.
them. Yeah, releasing them in studio. But this song, Give It Time, it's like 7 minutes long, and it is wonderful. So
I feel like if I made a list like this of just songs that got stuck in my head, I would end up with a lot of songs that my kids make me listen to over and over again.
Yeah.
And songs from kids' TV shows.
Right. Be like Frozen. Like when I would drive my girls to school, they always wanted to listen to Frozen. Like it was the Frozen or Frozen 2 soundtrack or Moana or,
At least I like them. I can get behind the Moana soundtrack.
Yeah.
That's got some jams on it. The Frozen one, I'm a little less. That's a little too show tuney for me.
That's fair. That's fair, Chris.
I will say our youngest who loves "Let It Go." That's her most requested song at bedtime. She
Okay.
does not call it "Let It Go."
Okay.
She calls it "Snow Glows" because the first line is "Snow glows white on the mountain tonight."
Ah, okay. Oh, so she's at the age where she thinks the first words are the title of the song.
Yes.
Well,
That's the title.
Hey, God bless her. Okay, so in terms of things that I watched this week, I watched the first season of Silo on Apple TV. Sticking with an Apple theme here. Have you heard of this show?
I've not. This
Okay,
one
so
hasn't
it's
crossed the lexicon for me yet.
it stars Rebecca Ferguson from I know her from the Mission Impossible movies, the more recent Mission Impossible movies. It also has Common in it.
Oh,
the rapper Common.
I did know him.
Tim Robbins from
Okay.
Shawshank. I mean, I know him from Shawshank Redemption. He's been around for a
I feel
while.
like we talked about him on something else recently too.
We may have. I may have seen him in something else, but it's a good show. So basically, it's one of these like there's this community that lives in a silo, hence the name,
Uh-huh.
and you can't go outside. So they're told that the outside world is toxic. It's I guess similar to if you watched
The
Fallout,
Village.
or yeah, maybe The
I
Village. Yeah, it has a very to use a TV reference, it has a very Lost feel. Like it's
mm,
they're kind of that mysterious. And I finished season one. I started season two, but like I just was kind of I got to a point where I was like, yeah, I need to take a break.
mm.
Just need to take a break for a little bit. Sticking again with the Apple TV theme, watched the second episode of season two of Severance.
Mm-hmm.
Severance is still, again, I would still highly recommend people check it out. It's really good. It's a really, really good show. Really, and I don't think we talked about this last week, but do you know who is the executive producer and directs a lot of the episodes?
Is it not? Why don't you just tell me who's the executive
It's
producer?
Ben Stiller, who
Oh, I
is
didn't know
obviously
that.
is the son of the late great Jerry Stiller, who played Frank Costanza on Seinfeld.
I'm back, baby!
That's right. Thank you. There he is. Um, one of my one of my favorite Family Guy jokes from years gone by is I think Ben Stiller's in an episode, and I think Peter refers to him as a mutant offspring of comedy people because his
I
dad
think I
is
remember. I think I remember that actually.
his dad's Jerry Stiller, and I can't remember his mother's name, but she was also a comedian
Comedy
as well.
person.
Yeah. All right, and then a couple films here, real quick. I watched the movie Haywire. This is a Steven Soderbergh film. Stars Gina Carano, the MMA fighter who was on The Mandalorian for a little bit, and then said something that got people upset, and she got
Mm,
canceled.
gotcha.
It also stars Michael Fassbender and Ewan McGregor is in it. It's really good. It's like a kind of one of these spy, like it's almost like a poor man's version of like the Bourne supremacist, like the Bourne movies.
Gotcha.
So if you like those kind of films, you might like Haywire.
Did we
I
did
watched.
we did we did we talk about the Hudsucker proxy on here? Is that something that you
That's what it
watched
was. Yeah,
recently? Okay,
because I
that's the
watched.
Tim Robbins.
Yeah, yeah. That
Yeah,
and
that's
yeah. I was on my Coen Brothers kick, and yeah, I watched
mm,
the yeah. And then I watched a Wes Anderson film called Asteroid City. This is one of his more recent films.
was that any good?
Came
I heard mixed. I heard mixed
It's
reviews
I
about it.
I enjoyed it. I mean, look, if it's one of those like if you don't like Wes Anderson, you're not going to like it. I mean,
Uh huh.
it's very, but it's got a good cast. Tom Hanks is in it. Steve Carell, um, Adrian Brody, who shows up for like maybe 2 minutes total in the movie, but like kills it. So I would recommend it. I mean,
My,
it's
my personal favorite Wes Anderson film is The Fantastic Mr. Fox.
that one's on my list. I haven't seen that one yet. Uh,
Our oldest is like a big Roald Doll, has like Roald Doll,
oh,
all the
okay.
books that, and
Yeah.
so that's a Roald Doll book. I think that was one of like the first chapter books we read her because it's pretty short, um, relative to most chapter books, and so I want to say we started with that one. But the
Gotcha.
movie adaptation is really good, and it's got like George Clooney in it.
Yep.
I can't remember who else is in there, but the you can find some like videos and stuff of them doing like the sound effects and everything on there, and it's fun to watch. It's kind of fun to watch how they did all that because they did a lot of the stuff like outside, not like in a voice studio. They actually like did it like running around
Oh.
outdoors, and so like they're like
Yeah. I remember either hearing about this or seeing maybe a YouTube video, like or yeah, like the algorithm spit out a video to me about like, hey, here's how they made the Fantastic Mr. Fox.
yeah, it was actually really cool. So I would recommend that to
Okay,
you.
cool. And then real quick, I do want to mention I watched the Before trilogy. This is Richard Linklater's 3 movies: Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, Before Midnight. They star
Have you-
Ethan Hawke and Julie Delphi.
followed by the After trilogy, of course.
Yeah, is it? Yeah.
No,
I was like, all right,
I'm
wait,
making that up.
that sounded like a real thing. No, so this is so Before Sunrise came out in 1995. What got me started on this was Before Sunrise is celebrating its 30th anniversary,
Mm.
and the Rewatchables podcast that I mentioned on the show before, they did an episode about Before Sunrise, so I watched it for that, and then I decided, well, might as well watch the other two as well. So, wonderful films, beautifully shot. They're just the word I used, I think, on Twitter was delightful. Like that's the only word I could really like come up with. They're just really good film, and it's interesting because do you know anything about these movies?
I know absolutely nothing about him.
Okay, so basically, in the first movie, in Before Sunrise, Ethan Hawke is this like 20-something college age student who's like backpacking through Europe, and he hops on this train and he happens to run into Julie Delphi's character, and they strike up conversation, and basically they get to a point where Ethan Hawke has to get off the train, but Julie Delphi's going a little further, but Ethan Hawke basically like, look, I know this is crazy, but why don't you spend the day with me? Like, why don't you just like,
And that ends with him handcuffed to a hotel bed as in his underwear.
I didn't think about that.
That's my only suit. It cost me $300 at Mo Ginsburg.
That's the Costanza version. Yes, that's the
Yes.
I totally forgot about it. I totally forgot.
When you're describing it, this is all I can think of. Is like,
but yeah. But anyway, so that's Before Sunrise, and then 9 years later, the story picks up in Before Sunset, and then 9 years after that is Before Midnight. So I don't want to talk. I mean, I would definitely recommend people watch them. They're, like I said, if you like Richard Linklater, he did the movie Boyhood. He did School of Rock, the Jack Black movie. Richard Linklater is local to us. He's from Houston. He was raised in Houston. He did go to Sam Houston State University for a minute. So I would definitely highly recommend checking these movies out.
Based on the description of the first one, I assume Before Sunset is when he has to go to a lesbian wedding. and then on Before Midnight, he has to go to Coney Island.
I never thought of the connection to the subway episode of Seinfeld, but here we are.
There we go.
This is why you make the big books, man.
This is why we can always bring it back to Seinfeld. It cost me $300. It's Mo Ginsburg. Oh
man. All right. Any other non-football related things you want to discuss before we?
I think that's it for me.
All right. Let's move on to the news and notes. We'll get into recapping what happened in the conference championship games. But before we do that, let's talk about. I really don't want to talk about the Saints too much, but well, here let's start with the Cowboys.
We have a coach.
One of our two teams has a coach. It's not mine.
You
do? So why don't you talk about son of Marty being the head coach for the Cowboys?
All right, I'm going to start off this by saying we looked at the success that Sean Payton has had both in New Orleans and Denver, and we decided we need a guy who wears a visor. That's what we're going for. Visors are big in the NFL now. That's how you win with the visor. So that's who we hired. So I think
not an advisor, a visor.
No. I'm gonna need some Advil
You're right.
after this. So the thing is, like, when they started bringing in like Robert Sala, and
Mm-hmm.
like seemed to like things seemed
Yeah.
to be progressing with him, it like seemed like it went well. It seemed like we might actually do a real coaching search,
Right.
but that turned out to not be the case. And I
Right.
think there there's a chance that this hire works out and that Schottenheimer is a good coach.
Yeah.
Like he is actually, I think, because it's it seems very apparent from what I've seen in the Dallas media, but also from other guys that have worked with Schottenheimer, with the team, like the players that when they talk about him, they speak of him really well. So he's obviously a guy that the players like, and seems like a guy who would be able to manage from like the CEO perspective. I know. We'll get into the calling play thing, but it seems like he
Yeah.
the personality fit is at least a good, like that's a good start. Um,
I mean, I don't know if this makes you feel any better, but I did see, I think Adam Schefter had Drew Brees on his podcast today and
uh-huh.
asked him about uh, Schottenheimer, and Drew Brees gave him a good review. I believe Brees worked with him in San Diego
Uh-huh.
back in the Chargers days. So, you know,
There was
for what
actually
that's
there's
worth,
actually
for what it's worth.
Yeah, there was actually I think there was another coach who was, I think he worked as a receivers coach either in Dallas, but first name Sanjay, like Sanjay Lal, I think was his name. He was like a receivers coach in Dallas, and he's with the Chargers now. And like they asked him like what he thought when he heard the news that Schottenheimer had gotten the head coaching job, and he said finally. Um, so
Oh,
so what people have said about him has been good. So that's positive. What I don't like though is the fact that they're they basically just went with the comfortable hire again. Like we know who we
mm-hmm.
want. This guy's not going to push back too hard on certain aspects of how the team is run, and so that's why we're going with him instead of, like reaching out and doing an extensive look at everyone that's available, including Cohen, including, you know,
Yeah.
Johnson, Glenn. Like there's plenty of candidates out there that you could have looked at,
It,
and they
is
interviewed
it?
four, and
Yeah.
two of them were diversity hire prospects. Maybe Sala wasn't. Maybe he was. I would
Yeah.
say probably so. Um, and then they interviewed the guy who was the offensive coordinator, you know, 2 years ago, and then they went with the guy who's offensive coordinator now. So not exactly an extensive search, and that's what bothers me the most about how this was run.
Well, and what I would say too is they kind of waited to make a decision on McCarthy, right? Like they didn't.
Yeah, and
It
even
was.
then,
Yeah.
I didn't feel like terrible about how long they waited because the guys who were the best process outside of Vrabel, who was going to sign with the Patriots anyway, they didn't really lose an opportunity. They didn't miss out on someone that got hired somewhere else because of timing. They still had chances. Like they would have been able to
Yeah.
interview Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn later anyway.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, I think, and we talked about this last week too. I think the Lions losing to the Commanders really kind of accelerated things because, like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure people were willing to wait for Ben Johnson and for Aaron Glenn,
Uh-huh.
but once they lost, now it's like, oh, okay, well now we can,
Now we can move
accelerate
on
this.
in.
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
move on in, and that's what the Bears did. I mean, the question I would ask to you is, do you think there? Because, and I'll get into this with definitely with the Saints here in a minute. Do you think the Jerry factor scared some of these coaches off?
It's hard to know if they put out feelers and guys didn't want to come or they didn't want to talk to anybody. Just because I haven't heard any, it's from what I heard, it just seemed like we have our guys. Let's just get this over with. Here's the couple of people that we'll talk to, and
Yeah,
that's how it feels. I have no
yeah.
like insight into whether or not that's the case.
The Schottenheimer thing did come together pretty quick. I
Yeah,
felt like, and then as people have pointed out in various media things I've heard today, when you're dropping the news at like 10 o'clock on a Friday night,
yeah, that's not a good sign. That's
probably
never a
probably
good
not.
sign.
So,
I will.
but go
I
ahead.
will say what he said in his press conferences about working to play to the roster strengths, marrying the run and the pass game so that they look the same. So you're able to bringing in more motion, more play action, and playing with tempo. Which I think, from what it sounds like, because he was the offensive coordinator, but McCarthy was calling plays this past year. It seemed like the players wanted to. One of the things that they actually did well this year was play like go no huddle and play with
Mm-hmm.
pace.
Yep.
And they were more effective that way. McCarthy didn't want to do that, even though the
Mm.
players wanted to, and so Schottenheimer didn't want to, buck, kind of rock the boat there. But
Yeah.
it seemed like that was something, and then also the other thing is like the uh, motion and play action they didn't use enough. And it seemed like something that he wanted to bring more of into the offense. We'll see if it's just like press conference talk or not. But it's at least encouraging because what he said, talking about sort of the split cuts with that McVay uses a lot, bringing those into the offense as well is something that he talked about. So what he said, like he
Yeah.
I'm cheering for the guy. The only problem is
Right.
if this works out well, it's just going to reinforce the terrible process that the Cowboys have. So
Yeah. Yeah. This is
it's
one
a
of those
lose-lose
no.
situation.
Yeah, it's a no-win situation because if, like, let's say your best case scenario is, let's say Schottenheimer takes you to the playoffs next year,
Mm-hmm.
then the narrative becomes, well, why wasn't this a thing, you know, before, So,
Yeah.
you did mention earlier about the play calling. So, I know they hired Eberflus to run the defense, which I think is a good hire.
Uh-huh.
Uh, we talked
Yeah,
about this a little bit with.
personally I would have rather had Zimmer back, but the
Fair enough. Yeah.
he's a competent defensive coordinator, right? It's
Well,
not
and he has history with the Cowboys, right? I mean, he
right,
was
correct.
there. Um, are they going? I mean, I think they're gonna hire an offensive coordinator.
They are. I think the guy that I've seen mentioned right now is the Arizona offensive line coach. Um,
Okay, yeah, I did see this. Yeah,
yeah, and so I think one of the comments that it's Arizona's run game has been much more diverse than the Cowboys and more effective since he's been there, and so
yeah.
he makes sense as kind of like the OC. And then I think the guy that they talked about bringing in for the offensive line coach would be um, Mark Colombo, also a former Cowboy, who's
Yeah.
actually coached with the team. I think the offensive line was good under him as well, and so bringing back that because they've had success with him, and then the tight ends coach they're hoping to keep on Lunda Wells, who is like one of the guys that I think everyone is really high on, sort of those like young guys who you want to kind of keep in house and kind of build him up to be more because sort of a rising star, and I think that's the guy that they want to keep as tight ends coach. But I think he's also got some interest from other teams.
Yeah. So, okay.
Oh, they hired a
So,
special teams coordinator too.
oh, did they?
And I can't remember his name, but he was I think defensive coordinator for San Francisco this past year. And
Sorensen.
yeah, Sorensen.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
so,
yeah.
but he's also got former experience as a special teams coordinator.
Okay, so this actually will lead us into, we got a little breaking news here.
Oh,
This is not Cowboys. Well, it kind of
wow.
Cowboys related. So this is from Tom Pelissero. Former Cowboys coach Mike McCarthy has decided to focus on the 2026 hiring cycle and will not coach in the NFL this season. The reason I bring this up is because
Welcome to New
apparently,
Orleans, Mr.
apparently,
Moore.
yeah, Kellen. So this is what I wanted to talk about with the Saints. This is now. So let's run through them here. So the Saints fired their coach second, right? Because the Jets
Mm-hmm.
fired Saleh, then the Saints fired Dennis Allen.
Excluding the NC. What? No.
No,
During the
no,
season.
this during the season.
During the season.
Jets fired Saleh, Saints fired Allen 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, whatever it was. We are now sitting on January 28th. The NFL Combine is in a month. The Senior Bowl is
Mhm.
this week. The East-West Shrine game is this week. The New Orleans Saints do not have a head coach.
That's a shame.
So we put in a request to interview Mike Vrabel. Now, to your point, as you just said, Vrabel was going to go to, but I mean, you could at least interview him. I mean, you could,
Right.
that didn't happen. They tried to interview Ben Johnson. That didn't happen. They interviewed Aaron Glenn, but Aaron Glenn was like, no, I'm going to go coach defense with
Aaron
young.
Rodgers.
I'm going to go coach a defense with young players, not
not guys that are collecting Social Security.
right. They put in a request with Joe Brady. Joe Brady's like, Josh Allen or Derek Carr. Yeah, I'm gonna stay put. I'm good.
Did they did an interview with Joe Brady, correct?
They did a virtual interview with Joe Brady.
So
they were in the
process.
they were in the process of trying to schedule a second interview. And then we talked about last week with the snow and all this crap. And the Saturday night before the conference championship, it came out that Joe Brady's like, nope, I'm staying in Buffalo. I'm not going to entertain any coaching offers. But I mean, by that point, the Saints were really the only one left. I mean, because the Cowboys, it was down to Cowboys and Saints, and you guys had hired Schottenheimer by that point. Then Cliff Kingsbury came out today and said, nope, I'm good. See, Jaden Daniels or Derek Carr. Yep. I
think part of that is also he just doesn't want. I don't think he wants a head coaching job right now.
No.
I think he kind of is content to be an offensive coordinator.
Let me be clear. I was not a fan. I was not a fan of let's go hire Kingsbury. He was not on my list. And there were a lot of Saints people who he was not on their list.
He would not have been on my list as a Cowboys person either, if that makes you feel any better.
So now add to this Mike McCarthy. Now, Aaron Glenn was on the coaching staff with the Saints. Joe Brady was on the coaching staff with the Saints. Mike McCarthy was on a coaching staff with the Saints. Now, McCarthy was 20 years ago, but, still.
Mm-hmm.
He had a relationship with Mickey Loomis. This week, there was a report that came out that said people in the Saints organization were not enamored with McCarthy. And I think this kind of speaks to what you were talking about McCarthy being a little set in his ways about like his
certain
offense
parts
and
of
all
the
this.
offense. Yes.
Yeah. I view this more as McCarthy's coming from Dallas, where it's Jerry's way or the highway.
Mm-hmm.
There have been rumblings that Mickey Loomis, our genius of a GM who didn't even know what pick in the draft we had when he was asked about it at his press conference. Idiot.
Well, they're just going to trade up from that spot anyway, so it's
you're probably right. Yeah, because we're just one player away,
Yep.
Such an
Which
idiot.
player? Which player is it?
Right. That's the problem. We don't know which one. So, but there have been rumblings that so if you look at Aaron Glenn, I'll go back to him for a second. Aaron Glenn went to New York and now is getting to pick, and he got to pick, I got to have a say, I think, in who the GM would be.
Mm-hmm.
As is. We'll talk about the Coen Chronicles here in a second. Like that same thing. We'll talk about that in a second. But here's the Saints. Actually, I bookmarked this tweet just for this occasion. Just give me 1 second. Let me pull it up. Oh no, okay. I bookmarked it on our account. Let's see. Nope. This is from Josina Anderson. Now, Josina Anderson is a very well-respected reporter, worked for ESPN, worked for numerous folks, and she has been on the ball this coaching cycle. She's broken news before most anybody. Here's what she wrote. This was today. Whoop. A league source tells me some of the questions surrounding Mike McCarthy and the Saints head coach vacancy have involved sentiments over the power structure and communication when it comes to football decisions, length of contract, etc., similar to the situation in Dallas. Obviously, McCarthy is very tenured and accomplished. It's not hard to surmise where he'd likely expect due respect. Everything has its own weight and impact on talks. Adding that note for context towards what eventually happens in New Orleans. Additionally, now this is the part I find interesting. Additionally, a lot of league perspectives have been given as to what owner Gail Benson should do when it comes to operations in her building in the future. I'll leave it at that for now. What that tells me, so here's what you got to know about Gail Benson. Miss Benson inherited this team from her late husband Tom, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was a big court thing. They had to go to court because Tom's children could have gotten a stake, and they went to court and they did all this stuff.
The Ben sons and Ben daughters.
Yeah. Ended up with Mrs. Benson getting ownership, and ended up with Mickey Loomis in the will. Like literally, Mickey Loomis is in the will. Mickey Loomis got lucky 15 years ago, or no, longer than that, 20 years ago, when he hired Sean Payton. Let's just call it what it is. He got lucky.
Hired
Sean Payton.
Huh? Hired him from?
From the Cowboys, right?
That's correct.
Right. So there, and so obviously we had 15, 16 years of Sean Payton. And then towards the end, now it's coming out that kind of towards the end, it was like Payton wanted to do one thing. Loomis had other ideas. That's maybe why Payton left and took a sabbatical or whatever you want to call it. And then he ends up with Denver.
You got a real Trent Baalke situation going on over here.
Well, that's the thing. It's like there were reports that going back to Aaron Glenn for a second, again, that Aaron Glenn made it known that he would be interested in the New Orleans job, but he wasn't working for Mickey Loomis. Basically. And people are like, well, why would he tell Mickey Loomis that? It's like, no. He's not telling Mickey Loomis that. He's telling other people in the organization, look, man, I enjoyed my time here, but like this guy, he got to
go. He's in a guts-to-go type of situation.
And now, Brandon, this is 5 coaches that have decided. Here's the other thing I'll mention. Mickey Loomis in his press conference that he gave 8 days after the season ended, by the way, where he didn't know which draft pick he had. When asked I forget how the question was phrased, but basically it was, how do you feel you have to sell this team, or something along those lines? And he goes, we don't have to sell this team. We're one of 32 jobs. People are going to want to coach here. No, Mickey, they're not. I got 5 examples. Okay. Well, I got at least 3.
I will say, like, I think that's kind of the old mindset about like there's only 32 jobs. You better take what you can get. People are being a lot more selective about what they walk into. Because especially they know if things go wrong, you're not going to get another shot.
Especially these young coaches like Ben Johnson, like Joe Brady. Joe Brady knows in a year from now, if I play my cards right and we have another good season,
which you probably will with Josh Allen.
But who knows what job comes open a year from now? Like the Saints job may be there again, and then
maybe the Cowboys job will be there.
Maybe the Cowboys job will be there. But it's just so where we stand now is the Saints flew up to Philadelphia last night. We're recording this on Tuesday, so Monday they flew up there to talk to Kellen Moore. we'll see what happens there. Apparently, I guess now Kellen Moore's the front runner because McCarthy, apparently, what I just read from Tom Pelissero, he's out. I mean,
I'm out.
I'm out. Yeah, I don't know.
That's it. I'm out of the coaching search.
Let's see.
I'm trying to cheer you up through humor, Paul.
Jordan. Yeah, no. I'm sorry. I'm looking to read some of this stuff. Mike Garofolo just tweeted, coming off the Saints' second interview with Kellen Moore, the Eagles OC remains the most likely head coach in New Orleans, but nothing is or can be finalized at this point because he's playing in the Super Bowl. You can't. Yeah. So, and that was in he tweeted that as a retweet to Pelissero's tweet about McCarthy. So just for context there. Jordan Schultz says, Mike McCarthy did not garner the interest from the Saints he anticipated. So there you go.
There you go.
And then, Nick Underhill just confirmed. Nick Underhill writes for. He's covered the Saints for years, and
The Times
he just basically. No, he's got his own thing. NOLA football, I think it's called. New Orleans football. Excuse me. I don't want to undersell.
We don't want to besmirch his fine website.
I don't want to besmirch his good name. No. Nick's one of the good ones. So I don't look. A week from now, when we're previewing the Super Bowl, the Saints will not have a head coach. So
because they can't this whole rant over again.
Yeah, I could do it all over again. Now, I guess they could just say, Darren Rizzi, congratulations on a job done. You're the coach.
Hired.
You're hired because you're the only one here. Oh, and by the way,
welcome back to H&H Bagels.
By the way, Clint Kubiak, he gone. He's in Seattle.
Yeah.
The defensive staff. We lost our linebacker coach, Michael Hodges. He's going to Cincinnati, I think. Yeah, so everything's good. We're good. Everything's great on Airline Drive.
The Saints are really killing it. I mean, all your hopes.
Well, look, listen. I realize that, and I think we talked about this after the season, like, it's not going to be good in 2025. We'll be lucky to be 5-12 again, probably. But what frustrates me is that the people in the organization look at this, and I think there are people in the organization that look at this and are like, "Man, we got to change something." Like, but then there's
you need to know if they have learned their lesson from trading up for Marcus Davenport.
Yeah.
Because
the way that here's another one for you real quick. Sorry. I just remembered. Dave Ziegler, who was Mickey Loomis called out in his press conference and said Dave Ziegler's part of the committee that's interviewing all these coaches. Yeah, he just took a job with the Tennessee Titans. So if he's in these interviews with the coaches,
maybe he's still helping to decide. You know, they're in the AFC. That's practically a different league.
Yeah. Mickey's out of his league is what the problem is. Let's move on to the rest of the NFL real quick. So the Bengals, they signed. They have a new defensive coordinator, Al Golden, from the Golden Domers from Notre Dame. Yeah. We talked about Saleh going back to the 49ers as their DC. That'll be good for them. So my prediction's sure to go wrong. 49ers will be back to normal next year, probably. We'll see. I mean, but
Saleh did not get a head coaching gig this cycle.
Oh yeah, and by the way, did the Saints call Robert Saleh to interview him?
I was gonna say maybe you could get him to come. No. You could have gotten him to come to New Orleans.
They also announced the 2026 draft, so not the one 3 months from now, but next year. Will be in Pittsburgh. So that'll be cool to have the draft in Pittsburgh. Do you know where the draft is this year, by the way?
I did, and then I lost it. It's
It's in
in what?
but
Minnesota?
close.
Detroit.
It's in warm. You're getting warmer. Same
Green
division.
Bay? Green
Yeah,
Bay?
It's in Green Bay.
Okay. I knew I was like, I think it's an NFC North team.
You would be right. You would be right.
Huh.
So let's kind of run through the coaching carousel here a little bit. So obviously the Bears hired Ben Johnson, Dennis Allen.
Your
Speaking
boy?
of the Saints, Dennis Allen's probably like the cat that ate the canary at this point because he gets to go be a defensive coordinator for the Bears. Talk about laying
Failing
your
upward
ass,
right there.
yeah, failing upward. Patriots, we've talked about Mike Vrabel. Their whole staff is assembled, I believe, at this point.
McDaniels.
That
Just get
look,
the band
well,
back together. But didn't they
by
hire
the way,
somebody else too?
I don't. Well, they hired a defensive coordinator, but I don't remember who it is. Oh, from Detroit. They hired the linebacker coach from Detroit.
Okay, that's right. I was because we we kept talking about the because I said why don't you just bring back your old? Why don't you just bring back Gerard Mayo and or
hey,
Pencil Boy?
Saints, call Gerard Mayo. He ain't doing nothing.
There you go.
Jesus Christ.
Maybe he can piss Derek Carr off enough to want to leave.
But on the Patriots, real quick, we should mention the Drake is a Pro Bowler.
Oh,
did you see this?
I did not. Did he get promoted because of
Yeah, because somebody else didn't want to go.
Oh. You can have my ticket.
Literally, like the AFC Pro Bowl quarterbacks now are Joe Burrow, Drake May, and oh God, who was the other one? I can't.
Lamar?
Oh, Russell Wilson.
Hmm.
So it's like,
Okay.
all right,
Sure.
we talked about the Jets. Aaron Glenn looks like Steve Wilkes is going to be their defensive coordinator. That's the hot name.
Steve
The
Wilkes.
OC. Yeah, the OC. I think they're looking at. So the Lions. So going back to the Bears real quick, the Bears were going to bring in Frank Haley from the Lions, but then that didn't happen. The Lions promoted Frank Haley to offensive coordinator to keep him. So now the Jets are going to go after their passing game coordinator. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, to potentially be the OC for the Jets, because basically he got passed over for the OC with Detroit, so maybe he becomes the OC for the Jets. So, and then we come to the astonishing tales of Liam Coen.
Duval.
This was. Let me look. The story's been out there for a while. I'm sure people know. I would highly recommend people seek out the Albert Breer article in Sports Illustrated. He kind of outlined like the whole saga,
Timeline.
the timeline
of events.
In fact, but one part of that he mentioned is apparently at some point, someone who worked in the Jacksonville office, like not a coach, just like somebody who just worked in that office, alerted someone who worked in the Tampa office
that he was there.
Like, hey, Cohen's here, right? I need to talk to those two people. Like, that's who I want to hear from.
Yeah, can we get those guys on the podcast?
Right. Like, I want to hear like that would be like I'm working at the Jacksonville office, minding my own business. All of a sudden I look up and it's like, oh, isn't that Liam Coen? Because the funniest part, well, not the funniest, but like one of the craziest.
Maybe he was there with the guy with the cape.
I'm Frank Costanza's lawyer. One of the craziest parts of this whole story is that Patrick Graham, who was the defensive coordinator for the Raiders, he was interviewing with the Jaguars, which the Jaguars needed to complete that interview to be Rooney Rule compliant. The whole time, Liam Coen is in the building, but they can't let Patrick Graham know, because if they let him,
covering his face as he like walks around the building.
Because they're afraid if Patrick Graham knows, Patrick Graham's going to be like, "Well, I know where this is going. I'm
It's
just
gonna
the
be
rooney."
it's gonna be a Miami, or it was a Dayball Brian Flores / Dayball situation. You remember
Right.
that when
Right.
they were
Yeah.
you're the man for the job.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, yeah, with Belichick. That was when Belichick texted the wrong Brian. Is that what it
Yep.
was? Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
And here's the better part. I think I could be wrong, but I believe the Jaguars want to interview Patrick Graham for their defensive coordinator job.
I like this idea.
I love this idea.
Yeah.
Oh my god! But yeah, and then all of this. So all this to say, we've got a man, Liam Coen, who is burning bridges with gasoline.
Oh, there's
Tampa.
so like Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson are like pulling people
Yeah.
from Detroit on their staffs. Tampa
Yeah.
Bay ain't letting those people ain't going nowhere.
But
you will
here's-
not pass go. You will
But
not
this is what I'm
collect
saying.
$200.
Liam Coen is burning these bridges to go coach in Jacksonville. Now, granted, Jacksonville has Trevor Lawrence. I understand. Meanwhile, the Saints can't even get somebody to pick up a phone. Like, we can't even, like,
Mr. Cohen.
I mean, like,
I mean,
it's
he got them to fire their GM. Maybe he could get maybe he could get
Right.
them to fire Loomis too. That's what you
Right,
need.
hey, yeah,
Liam,
that's
can you come
true.
interview for us?
I like this idea.
Yeah.
So yeah, so all that to say, and then all of this happens, and this buffoon goes on this press conference and does the Duval thing, and it's like, what is happening? Like,
It's not even a good. It was not a good Duval. That's the important thing is it was not a good. You got to get into it for it to be good. You got to go the whole Duval.
Right.
You can't.
So- I'm wondering, do you think the Jaguars saw that and immediately did like Jerry with the two-faced girl? Like, ugh.
No, I think it was more like the Joe Bluth. I've made a huge mistake.
Made a huge.
That's
yeah,
what
from Arrested Development. Yeah.
Arrested Development exactly.
All right. And then Pete Carroll. Welcome back to the NFL.
Welcome back.
74 years young or whatever you like. And guess who didn't call Pete Carroll? The Saints. Like, you know what I mean?
Hey, even we called Pete Carroll.
I mean, like,
even we were smart enough to do that.
George got into
Come on.
podiatry school. That's how that sounded.
That's exactly what it was like.
By the way,
Perfect.
in Las Vegas now, so you have Pete Carroll. Don't be surprised if Russell Wilson ends up in Las Vegas now. With
This is what I need. Hey,
Right.
maybe Beast Mode will come back for a few games.
Well, he was at the press conference. He was at
I did see
Carroll's
that,
press
yeah.
conference. Yeah.
Did you ever see?
he
Did you ever see him with the Amish people?
I think I heard about this, but I don't know if I
Okay.
actually saw the clip. But
It's worth watching. I'll try to find it's on. I know the whole video is on Twitter. I'll try to find it at some point.
okay.
That dude's a national treasure.
And then one last thing on the Raiders, they did hire John Spytek. Insert
Yeah.
Spygate joke here.
Yep. That was definitely a Brady hire. It's going to be my
Wait,
angle on this.
wait, hang on. This goes back to the Cohen thing in Jacksonville, because while this whole Cohen thing's going on, and like, you know, the Tampa's got the contract that he didn't sign, and they can't get in touch with him, and all this stuff.
Uh-huh.
The Cohen news breaks, and then somebody, God bless whoever this was, somebody just puts out like a little, like a. It's almost like if you got a fire going and somebody just takes like a little match and just like kind of stokes the fire a little bit. Somebody tweets out, "Hey, by the way, that Spytek deal with the Raiders, that's not signed yet. Like he could end up."
they could end up. Hey, we got a GM opening over here.
Well, because he's from Tampa and he knew Cohen, and like that was a pairing that was apparently discussed at some point. But man, what a wacky couple of days. This all basically happened in a week. I mean,
Yeah, so apparently I heard in multiple places that the Cohen offensive coordinator pay raise was contingent on him not taking any more interviews with the
right,
Jaguars. And
right.
so and then
This
he's
is,
avoiding the signing the papers because he's interviewing with the Jaguars.
and then Todd Bowles gets in touch with him, and he says he was with his kid who was sick, so that
Uh-huh.
gets out. And then, of course, people handled that
Oh, I'm sure
appropriately.
that went well. That went
And then
over
that's
well.
why his wife has to go on Twitter and be like, "No, our son really was sick. Like this is like he has an autoimmune
I was
disease.
going to
Like,
say he has an actual
yeah, like."
situation.
And and then the story came out that Cohen told Bowles that, but then in that conversation also mentioned to Bowles like, "Hey, this Jacksonville thing looks like it's." Now, here's the part that I don't know, and we'll get off of this after this. But here's the part I don't know. I was told at one point that Liam Coen basically told the Jaguars, "I want the job, but not with Bulky."
Uh-huh.
That, and then a day later, Bulky is they part ways with Bulky, and then that's when
Mhm.
the whole Cohen thing goes in back into. But then in the timeline that Albert Breer outlines, and then I've seen other people outline, they don't mention that part. They don't mention like Cohen was the one who said, "Hey, this is what's got to happen," kind of thing. So
Yeah. I feel like
I don't know.
I feel like that was probably just like guessed at. Like people kind of projected that he would have said that. I feel like he didn't. I feel like what I've seen, he didn't necessarily say
I
that, but
mean,
I think he probably he voiced concerns over like the situation. Didn't just
yeah.
say like, "Hey, I want this guy gone,"
Well, and I think again, not to bring it back to the Saints situation, but I think there were other coaching candidates who maybe backed out from the
because of.
Jaguars because of Bulky,
Mhm.
and I don't know. Uh, all right, let's actually talk about teams that are good. Um, and let's get into our recap of the divisional round, or I'm sorry, the conference championships. Unfortunately for most of America, apparently, this our Super Bowl matchup that we got is not what people wanted, but it is what we have. So we'll
You know what
start with.
you know
Go
what
ahead.
I think about this matchup?
Well, it sucks.
Does Elaine have any thoughts?
Um, I don't have that clip.
Oh, sorry. Okay, never
Oh,
mind.
I forgot to get that one.
That's all right.
Well,
I was
we're
like,
supposed to. Ladies and gentlemen, what you hear now is the voice of Elaine Bennis yelling, "I hate it."
yeah. Just go to the English Patient episode of Seinfeld, uh, and listen to Elaine yell, "I hate it," and
And then come.
you'll have her
We'll
thoughts.
we'll still be here
Yeah,
when you
we'll
come
we'll
back.
wait. We'll be here
Well,
when you get back. We'll be here. All right, let's start with the NFC Championship game that was presented by Louisiana legend Brian Mitchell.
mm-hmm.
Eagles 55, Commanders 23. How many rushing touchdowns did the Eagles score? 7?
Yep. 7.
Yep.
7
All right.
Costanza.
7 Costanza. It was like the most in conference championship history or something like that.
Yep.
Hey,
Yeah, because I
rough.
think it's like post merger, so that would be like the cutoff for it, right?
Yeah, so I knew the Commanders were in trouble when they opening drive was 18 plays. They take up all this time. They convert 2 fourth downs, decide not to go forward on fourth and what was it, fourth and
That
2?
That's what I don't understand is
Right.
you keep going for it and you're basically telling you we need to keep these drives going. We're not just going to settle for points.
Right.
and then you settle for points. And so and then
Right.
what happened? What
And
happened
then,
after that, Paul?
well, I believe that's what the kids call F around and find out.
They found out.
They found out Saquon Barkley, one play, 60 yards or whatever it was, and whoop, he gone. Yeah, and after that, it was like, okay, so all the Commanders can hope to do at this point is just stay within striking distance. And to their credit,
For a while, they did.
they were there, and then it really was the fumble by, was it Eckler? I think it was the Eckler fumble where he fell down, nobody touched him, so he got back up,
And then
and
someone.
you want
I
to know who
thought.
that someone was, by the way? How
I
about
believe that was
Saints?
a former Saint,
How about,
right?
yeah, how about Saints legend Zach Bond, who again Mickey Loomis said in his press conference, "Oh yeah, we just couldn't find playing time for him."
Uh, we were playing the other. We were playing the old guys in front of him.
We were playing Pete Werner. Yeah, you know who Pete. Yeah, you know who Pete Werner is. Yeah, nobody does.
Really does.
Hey, sorry, we're back on the Saints now. See what you did?
Why do you keep doing this to me?
But yeah, so you texted me something in the middle of the game, and I couldn't get off of it after you texted. And you've said this to me before.
Mm-hmm.
You said if Hertz's first read is not there, he scrambles.
Mm-hmm.
And so I looked for it, rest of the game, and you were right. I mean, when he was on time, like when his first read was there, because a lot of people were praising Hertz on Monday. You were not one of them.
I will say this was like his best game in 2 months, like since the Pittsburgh game.
Rich Eisen on his show said it's the best game he's seen Hertz play since the Super Bowl they lost to the Chiefs.
Yeah, he was. I will say, like, I think that and I don't know what kind of coverages Dan Quinn was running, but I know one of the things. So the Dan Quinn defenses in Dallas, like the problem that they have was stopping the run, which I think you saw that pretty much on display.
And we should point out Deron Payne, their defensive tackle. They found out the night before that he wasn't going to be able to play. So
right.
Oh well,
Yeah,
I mean,
so,
they announced it. I don't know. They probably knew before.
They probably knew. Yeah. So the Dan Quinn defense is like, because of the way a lot of times what they're doing to create kind of the chaos that they use in the passing game is running a lot of like stunts and twists in games, and what that ends up leading to a lot of times is just giant gashing runs, which is what they had trouble with when he was with the Cowboys. But yeah, I think a lot of it was just like when Hertz was on time with his throws, and I think some of that was the way that the Commanders were, like the coverages that the Commanders were playing was a lot of man coverage over there. I think the way Quinn sets up to play defense is kind of conducive in a way that the Pittsburgh defense was as well, like the sort of middle of the field closed man coverage underneath a lot. Tends to play toward Hertz's strengths. Like that's the sort of defenses that he's better against. I don't think we'll talk about this next week when we get into Super Bowl preview, but I think Spagnuolo's not going to sit there and let you get comfortable with this in the same way.
No.
But yeah, so that's just my experience. You can watch him; he'll drop back. You see him look one way, and then it's kind of like hesitate and go, and it happens. It happens quite a bit, and that's where like he's not. I think a couple of years ago, people were trying to get him into like is he a top 5 quarterback? And he's just not. Like I think the biggest weapon he has most of the time is the fact that he is able to run, and that they can just shove his butt. We gotta get rid of that play. I'm sick of that.
Okay, let's talk about that. I'm glad you led me to where I wanted to go here. So the linebacker from Washington, Frankie, was it Luvu? Is that his name?
Yes.
Luvu. Okay. So the drive before the play everybody's talking about. He times up the snap perfectly and meets Hertz and Barkley in the backfield. People are not talking about this play. Like He literally, it was like ball is snapped, and number 4 from Washington is meeting Barkley and Hurts at their, like, almost caused a fumble, right?
Uh-huh.
The reason I bring this up is because on the next drive, when Hurts, when they get down to the goal line and he does the 2
Yeah, just keep
encroach,
diving over
yeah,
the diving
yeah.
over the pile.
I kept thinking, I'm like, well, what would have happened if he timed it right? Like if he
Uh-huh.
times it just right, and maybe he doesn't cause a fumble, but maybe he at least, like,
Blows them back a few yards and they can't run that
right,
play anymore.
right. And then the whole, like, asinine thing about, all right, if you do that again, we're gonna give,
I'm warning you, we're going to
yeah,
just give him a touchdown.
which you and I were talking about before. That there is a rule. It can happen. Apparently, it happened in a college game. I forget where I read this or heard this today. It happened in a collegiate game. It was a similar thing where, like, and I get the spirit of the rule, which is like,
Uh-huh.
you're preventing a defense from saying, like, you're not going to score. We're just going to keep, like,
Yeah.
pass interfering, or, like, not, do
Just
whatever.
holding and
Yeah, because we'll just take half the distance to the goal, penalties or whatever, instead of, instead of that, and instead of you scoring. But yeah, but I think I'm on the side of the tush push needs to go away. They
yeah,
need to
it's
do something.
yeah, just like it just feels because I think because there's rules against like defenders can't like push each other to block a kick. Like you can't like lift a guy
Right,
up to block a kick.
right,
So like if the defense isn't allowed to do that, why are you allowed to shove the
right,
guy forward?
right.
Like it's not
Well,
and I
didn't
also I also don't care for the like the once the running back is stopped, the offensive linemen also run up and start shoving everybody
right?
too.
Yeah,
Not,
yeah, yeah.
let's just blow
Yeah,
the play dead at that point.
yeah. Yeah. So, that was the big takeaways from there. For the Commanders, real quick, I just to kind of give them a little autopsy, if you will, in their season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, the sky. I mean, you got to feel pretty good if you're a Commanders fan, right? Like, you.
Yeah, I will caution against unchecked optimism because we saw this happen with
Yeah,
CJ Stroud last year, and I think
yeah,
that's what's going to happen is everyone's going to say they're going to take the next step for sure, and then we'll see if they do because that happens.
I think going into next season, I would, my prediction, I guess, or my forecasting for next season would be kind of like what it was this season, which is you've got the Eagles, barring unforeseen, we don't know. I mean, we haven't even done free agency yet or all that stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
I would say the Eagles are the cream of the crop in that division. Sorry.
Mm.
And then the Cowboys and the Commanders are probably going to be fighting it out to see, like, who's going to be 2. And then
You
we'll
mean
see what the Giants.
the Cowboys who beat the Commanders with Cooper Rush and almost beat them with Trey Lance?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we'll see. And then we'll see what the Giants do. I mean, obviously the Giants are going to be, it's make or break time for Dayball next year.
The
I would
Giants
say
will definitely be playing games next year.
that we can confirm. Yeah. That's kind of where I am with the Saints. I'm like, can the Saints just get regulated down to like the like NC like they do in the Premier League? Can we just regulate the?
You can you can play in the spring league
Yeah,
against
put
the
them in the
Birmingham
UFL.
Stallions. Yeah, there you go.
There you
The
go.
Birmingham Stallions against the New Orleans Saints this week.
Take the points with Birmingham or lay the points with Birmingham. Gee, what a clown of an organization the Saints are. All right, let's move on to.
Tell me how you really
actually,
feel, Paul.
Actually, as we're talking, I have my television on, and they're showing the replay of this game here. Brought to you by, is it Marfkes?
Marfkes Patton.
Marfkes Patton. I
was
used the
really
vernacular grid the other day.
Yeah, I was really excited. Like I think the day after, or I think
Yeah.
it was the day before the game, we got to use them. So very exciting.
But he presents AFC Championship, Chiefs 32, Bills 29. They're showing the replay right now. Actually, they just showed the fourth down play
Mm.
the 4th and 1 that
Oh,
did not go Buffalo's way. The one that
I
where the
thought they picked it up on 3rd down. I thought they should have challenged the
oh
spot on the play
okay.
before. Am I taking crazy pills?
I don't remember. Like again, right? Like they just came back from commercial and they're showing the referee saying it's Kansas City ball. So, um, but that 1 yard that Josh Allen did not get proved
Mhm.
detrimental to me because I had him in a 3-leg parlay.
I
Josh
know
Allen
that
over. Yeah, I missed the over by
30,
1 yard,
39 and a half rushing yards. You had 30 he had 39 rushing yards.
and he had 39. Well, that's a shame.
That's a
Yeah, look. So I, I I thought about this during the week. We probably should have talked about it in the episode last week. Early on, like one of our first episodes, I said, "Aren't we just heading for Chiefs Bills in the AFC Championship game?" And
Here we
look where
are.
we end up. Look where we ended up. Uh, look, I I get people are upset about things. I get it. Look,
You mean of
don't talk.
how bad the officiating is?
Yeah, don't talk to a Saints fan about missed calls in a championship game. Like, just I get it. I'm there with you. But the Chiefs are still like they still had to like win the game. Like it wasn't like they. I mean, Mahomes is still good, by the way, folks. Like he's still he's still Patrick Mahomes. Like let's not get crazy here. Like
Well, I think it's also like Andy Reid. Like when
yeah,
you give them time to like
yeah.
scheme up a game plan, like Andy Reid's going to have something ready for you. Like it seems like anytime they get into situations where it's like 3rd and 4th and short, they've got just like a Rolodex of plays
And
that
yeah, and by the
to
way,
just like
Buffalo. How about you don't trade back with the Chiefs so they can take Xavier Worthy?
yeah, they kind of
You
shooting
know,
themselves in the foot there.
like I mean, and
Man,
I mean, like
let's also remember they traded in the season for Amari Cooper and then banished him to the shadow realm. Basically, he was like
I think yeah,
he's in witness protection over there. Like, what was the point of
well,
that?
he could have interviewed for the Saints job because he would have been. He wasn't
He
doing
wasn't.
anything
He
else.
was. Nah. I
What?
do. I will say. I will say. Like right after I sent you that text about his Amari Cooper in witness protection, he got a pass. I was like, oh, there he is.
That's what he was. They were waiting for you to text me. That's what it was.
Yep. If I would, I'm just gonna keep texting you, Amari Cooper, Amari Cooper.
And here's the other message I'll send to fans of the AFC elite that are not the Chiefs. So all you fans of like Buffalo, Buffalo
Baltimore,
not so much, but like Baltimore, Pittsburgh,
Cincinnati. Are
Cincinnati.
we calling Pittsburgh the AFC elite?
Here's my point. Like I haven't heard this much from Buffalo about like wanting to fire McDermott, but I've heard a little bit of like Baltimore fans want to get rid of Harbaugh. Pittsburgh fans want to get rid of Tomlin, obviously. Until one of you figures out the Chiefs conundrum, just stop it. Like
Yeah.
just like I could understand if one of you like honestly, if one of you came up with the formula for beating the Chiefs, which is probably the Bengals, right? Because the Bengals have been the only one to do it
Mm-hmm.
in the recent past. Until one of you figure that out, just stop it. All right. I tell you what, if you want to fire Mike Tomlin, I got a job for him. Like, there's an opening. I could fill up. Of course, he probably won't interview for
I
it.
was gonna say, let me know how that interview request goes.
It's one. Look, Mike. It's one of 32. Right. I mean, like,
Someone's gonna take it.
someone's going to take it. But yeah, look, I get it. People are mad at the Chiefs, but like, I mean, look, we're witnessing in less than 2 weeks. We will see for the first time a team attempt to complete a Super Bowl three-peat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's just take it in for what it's worth. I mean, yeah. Look,
The worst part about this is that I actually have to actively root for the three-peat.
oh, because of
the opponent.
Oh well, yeah. That's
So
yeah.
so
That's
I, so I'll
that.
say like,
This is the definition of a no-win situation for you. Yeah.
oh yeah. So I text my I had a question for a friend of mine from my last job. She's um grew up in Ireland, family's from Ireland, but she
Uh-huh.
like lived in Philadelphia for a little while. So I was texting her because we're getting plane tickets to Ireland, to go with because my parents are going. Um, and so I texted her. I was like, "Hey, I need your help." And she goes, "Oh, do you need to know how to? Do you need help learning how to cheer for the Eagles in 2 weeks?" And I text back. I said, "I would rather step in front of a bus." So
You know,
that
that is one thing I will say. Because I was going through this week. I guess we could talk about it now. Like, if you look at the last 20 Super Bowls and you look at the AFC representative, it's really
uh-huh.
only been like 5 teams,
Yeah,
right? It's
Patriots,
Patriots, Chiefs,
Colts,
Steelers, Colts,
Colts, Broncos,
Ravens,
Ravens, Broncos.
Bengals, and Broncos. So
Okay.
7,
Yeah.
right? If you look at the NFC, like the entire NFC South has been to the Super Bowl in the last 20 years.
Oh yeah.
The entire NFC West has been to the Super Bowl at least once in the last 20 years. We won't talk about the other divisions because I don't want to hurt your feelings, but
Well, the NFC North hasn't gotten there either.
that's true. It's been the Packers and the Bears. The Bears have been in the last 20 years, I think, technically.
Wait one more year,
Um,
and that won't be the case.
right. But all that to say, like, I didn't really like when the Falcons were in the Super Bowl. I wasn't. Maybe I'll get my Saints card revoked for this. I wasn't actively rooting against them. The whole 28-3 thing was funny. I mean, I won't lie. Like, it was,
I
but
wish that that Super Bowl and
okay.
the Philly special Super Bowl were switched with like the results. So I wish that the Falcons had the miracle play, and I wish the Eagles had the 28 to
So
3.
you would rather it be the Atlanta special
Yes.
and Philadelphia blew a 28-3 lead
Yep.
to Brady.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean,
If I had powers, that's how I'd use them.
if was a fifth, we'd all be drunk, my friend.
I should also point out that before the NFC Championship game, these two heated rivals, the Eagles and Commanders, their fans were having fun together, chanting "Dallas sucks" because we live rent free in those empty heads, baby.
There you go, man. There you go.
Rent free. All they
Well,
care about is us.
do you believe in the logo theory, the Super Bowl logo? Have you heard about this?
I think I have, but it's red.
So
It's red and yellow, so like we know
well, it's
who we know.
yeah, it's red. Yeah, it's red with like green tint this year. So like,
Mm,
or something like. But like, basically the theory is if you look at the Super Bowl logo, the color scheme for like the last 5 years, I think
uh-huh. Has
it's
matched
matched
the.
has matched the two teams in the game.
So what I need to do is find the graphic designer.
Well, so this is why I bring this up is because the one for next year, I don't know if this is the official logo, but a logo came out and it's like blue. It's like
Uh-huh.
very
Navy.
blue tint. So people were like, "Oh, that's Lions Bills, or that could be Cowboys." Somebody, we'll
What
see.
Super Bowl number is this?
This is
Licks.
59 coming up. It'll be 60 next year.
I'm gonna have to look this up to see what. Ooh, there is some blue there.
While you're looking that up, I'll just let everybody know that with their losses, the Commanders and the Bills, that is, Commanders will now be picking 29th overall in the first round of the draft, and the Bills will be picking 30th overall. But they'll probably trade back with the Chiefs anyway, so we'll see what happens. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to speak on this game. Again, I'm watching the replay. Oh, here's something else I wanted to bring up.
The James Cook touchdown.
Maybe. Oh yeah, the great yeah that great
That
yeah.
play was incredible.
Actually, no, that is what it was. Not that touchdown, but it's subsequent to that. So James Cook has this great touchdown, makes a great play, and then Buffalo kicks the extra point. They get a encroachment penalty on the
Mm-hmm.
Chiefs, so they get some kind of defensive penalty and decide to go for two. So they take the point off the board and decide to go for two. Now, in a hindsight, it didn't matter because they lost by 3. So
Right.
it wouldn't like it would matter. But they just showed the throw that Allen made to Hollins in that fourth quarter, that late drive. Man, Allen was slinging it, man.
He had some throws, especially like down the seam, that were incredible this game.
That was this one. This one was
Yep.
Hollins ran a seam route, and what I would do, what I would kill for quarterback play at that level. Anyway, but yeah, I just found that curious. I just found it curious that they would take that point off the board. I get the logic, like you get a closer 2-point conversion because of the penalty, but I don't know. That just seemed weird. But what I will say, just to kind of tie this back to the coaching search thing, because again, the Saints are the last opening. We don't anticipate any like. Do you think there's a chance that if the Chiefs win and it's their third in a row, Andy Reid's like, you know what, I'm good. I think I'm going to go.
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think he's there yet.
And Sirianni, I don't think he gets fired now.
I know.
4 months ago, he was public enemy number 1 in Philadelphia, but now he's good.
He hasn't yelled at the fans lately that I can remember.
It's true. And by the way, you can blame the Saints for that too, because it was basically that week 3 game. If you think about it, Saints are beating the Eagles in week 3 and then decide not to cover Dallas Goedert and not to tackle Saquon Barkley. And that was it. And then they kind of go, I think they lost the next week, but yeah.
What I'm hearing is that the Saints are responsible for everything.
Yeah, you can hey, look, you have my permission as a Saints fan to blame them for everything.
Okay. The Saints are the reason the Cowboys were bad this year, Paul. It's all your fault.
Well, I mean, they put a whooping on them week 2. They demoralized them in week 2, I think is what happened. All right, so we've recapped the conference championship. We talked about the draft order. We'll do a more in-depth preview, I'll say, of the Super Bowl next week.
Yes.
When we've had, because obviously there's no game this week. However, what we will do is I believe I feel a draft, Brandon.
I feel a draft too.
I feel a draft. Let's change tables.
Get out of here. We have a booth.
Okay, so we're actually going to feel 2 drafts, kind of. So last week, if you recall, we did the 2025 season opener draft, where we took the 4 teams remaining. We looked at their non-division home opponents for next season and kind of picked games that we would like to see for the opening game of 2025. Well, obviously, now that Buffalo and Washington have been eliminated, the games we picked for those 2 teams no longer apply. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick an additional game for the Eagles and an additional game for the Chiefs. So just to remind you, last week I had Eagles-Rams and Chiefs-Commanders. Those were my 2 picks. Brandon had Eagles-Bears and Chiefs-Eagles. So a Super Bowl rematch, basically.
Yep.
So I guess, do you want to start with the Eagles first?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so I can't remember who went first. Did I go first last week?
You went first last time.
Okay, so I'll take let me see here. So I took Eagles Rams, you took Eagles Bears. I'm going to take this might be a little off the beaten path. I'm going to take Eagles Broncos
That is off the beaten path.
because I think you look at the Broncos, they're a playoff team, right? From
Hmm.
this year, there'll be a lot of hype around them with Bo Nix, and we'll see what they do in free agency. They may have Taysom Hill on their team.
Of course. Sean
I mean,
Payton's long lost son.
yeah, his pride and joy, as it were. Uh, all right. What's your Eagles pick there?
I will take. I'll
Or I
just
guess
take
your
a.
next. You doesn't have to be an Eagles pick.
Yeah, I'll just do the. Go ahead and do the Eagles. I'll just take Eagles Lions here.
Okay. The NFC Championship we didn't get.
Correct. The
Yeah,
commies
that's
ruined
good.
it for me. And then for the Chiefs, okay, so I took Chiefs Eagles. You got Chiefs commies, so that leaves us with Texans, Colts, Ravens,
Ravens
and
or
Lions.
Lions? Oh my.
Ooh, man, Chiefs Lions. Chiefs Lions seems like a good one too.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna go with the divisional matchup. I'll take Chiefs Texans and see if we can
Yeah,
get
we
some some roughing the passer bowl, as I'll call it.
well, and we should mention the Texans are in the market for an offensive coordinator. They fired
Correct,
Bobby
Mr.
Slowick.
Slowick.
Yeah.
You are no longer needed. Your services are
I
no longer needed.
I was kind of surprised they didn't pursue Kubiak because obviously Kubiak and D'Amico Ryans have a relationship from the 49er days.
I wonder if that's
Uh,
because Slowick was a Kubiak
oh, yeah,
disciple, and so
that's
you
true.
let's go pick some fruit from a different tree here.
You know a name I've heard for that job and for other jobs is Chip Kelly.
Yes, I have heard that one.
I've heard that
Which,
name, which
yeah, that wouldn't be
makes
a bad
sense.
hire, I think.
Makes sense. Well, I mean, Chip Kelly was at Ohio State this past year. C.J. Stroud, obviously from Ohio State, so
Hmm.
maybe they have some kind of synergy there.
Hmm.
Um, all right, so I will take for the Chiefs. I will go Chiefs. I'll go Chiefs Ravens. So you took the NFC Championship. That wasn't. I'll take the AFC Championship. That wasn't.
You'll go with a back-to-back Chiefs Ravens opener.
Yeah, why not? Well, because here's the thing: if you're the Ravens, you might. I feel like the Ravens this offseason might start chirping a little bit. Like, well, if we had gotten past Buffalo, we maybe could have.
Yeah, that's kind of hard to sell them on, considering they lost to the Chiefs in the opener last year too.
Yeah, but that was. I mean, yeah, I
Hmm.
don't know. It is what it is, man. So let's just recap real quick. So my official 4 for the 2025 season opener: Eagles Rams, which would be a rematch of the divisional round, right? Which
Yes.
that doesn't look as good now because it looks like Stafford may not be with the Rams next year. That's a rumor I heard. Uh, we'll see. I have Eagles Rams. I have Eagles Broncos. I have Chiefs Commanders. I really think that's going to be. I feel pretty good about that one. If the Chiefs win the Super Bowl and they're kind of looking for a off the beaten path game, that feels like a good one. And then
Two
we
of the
have
Indian franchises,
right.
Native American franchises, I should say.
Don't tell Naomi or whatever her name was.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
smoke them peace
Which
pipe.
they could have Kramer drive in the cab down the field
Yeah.
with the cigar still in
Jerry.
there. And then I had Chiefs the rematch from this past year's first game, Chiefs Ravens. And what were your 4, Brandon?
I have Eagles Bears in the Ben Johnson matchup and Eagles Lions. So I took 2 Eagles NFC North matchups. And then for the Chiefs, I took the Super Bowl rematch, Chiefs Eagles, and the AFC divisional rematch of Chiefs Texans.
Yeah. There's no chance it's Chiefs Colts, right?
I don't think so.
I mean,
a hard
unless the
time.
Colts like do something. I mean, like what's the selling point, right? Anthony Richardson, like that's
Sure.
sure. Why not?
Let's see if Can Anthony Richardson complete 50% of his passes? Tune in to find out.
Must see TV.
Let's watch.
Okay, so I mentioned we were going to do 2 drafts. So we thought, or I think you suggested this one actually. I'll give you credit for this
Yeah,
one.
I really think we should capitalize on the popularity of one
Well,
of the Super Bowl contestants'
right. Well,
girlfriends.
we all know that the reason the refs cheat for the Chiefs is because of the fact that Travis Kelce dates Taylor Swift. So
And you gotta play to that.
we got to play to our audience, right? And I have Swifties in my life, and I believe I speak you have Swifties in your life as well, Brandon.
Yeah.
So we thought, why not draft Taylor Swift songs? And I earlier today I asked my wife. I said, do you have any suggestions for songs? And I ended up with a playlist of 100 songs. So here we go. We're now we're not going to.
We will
We're going
not
to
be
do our
drafting 100 songs.
No, we will not be. No, she literally we got to the 1989 album and she literally said, "Yeah, just take the whole thing. Just take it all." So we'll do our normal 4 piece, right? I think that's good enough. Do you want? I'll give you I'll defer to you. Do you want the first pick or you want the?
You know what, I'll let you take the first one here.
Okay. So, all right. So coming into this, I said,
You've got a few songs that you know, right?
Well, no, there are a few that I know that I was exposed to outside of the fact that my wife is a Swiftie and she has gotten my oldest daughter, into Taylor Swift as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, well, I want to pick songs that are favorites of theirs, obviously, because I don't want to, So I will take, for my first pick, I will take All Too Well.
Okay.
The 10-minute version.
Oh yeah, this is the big thing.
Yeah, this was
this is a John Mayer song. John Mayer.
No,
song?
this is Jake Gyllenhaal.
Jake Gyllenhaal. Okay.
Yeah, this is
I
Jake
get those
Gyllenhaal.
I get those two mixed up.
Like just in general, or
no, it's in terms of their relationship. Which songs are about each person?
One of them was in the movie Prisoners, and the other one wrote the song Daughters.
It's a lot, yeah. So, that I don't struggle with. It's which Taylor Swift song is about which person.
Yeah, I've referenced Conan O'Brien's podcast before, and he did an episode where he got one of his assistants, who is a big Swiftie, to come on and talk about. This was like the summer that she was doing the Eras tour, and it was like the biggest deal in the world. And he asked this guy. He said, "Well, what's your favorite song?" And he said, "Yeah, All Too Well, 10-minute version." And Conan said, "Yeah, there's an 11-minute version they have where you can hear her coughing and being like, did we get it?" I don't know why that just made me. Every time I think of the song All Too Well, that's what I think of. So yeah, that'll be my first pick. All Too Well, 10-minute version. I think that's off of the. Hang on, let me find what album it's on.
I can actually.
I should have written all this down.
This version is off of Red.
Red, yes.
So you're going with the Chiefs theme, going with Red.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. All right, buddy, you're up.
All right, I'm gonna take something from Fearless here. Probably my favorite, one of the pop songs of hers. I'm gonna go with "You Belong with Me."
Ah, yeah. That was that her first big hit?
I don't know about more of her first big pop hit, because it wasn't off of her first album, because she had the country stuff before, like Teardrops on My Guitar. Not to
Right, that's the one I'm thinking of. That's
yeah,
that's the one.
not to say picks, but yeah. So "You Belong with Me" was probably like my favorite one of her pop
Yeah,
songs.
I definitely remember that one. Yeah, I definitely remember that one being a thing, as it were.
Okay, I'm gonna go with a big pop hit over here. One of my kids' favorite songs. I'm gonna go "Shake It Off."
Yep.
Um, so we went to Pittsburgh back in 2019, and
Okay.
so which was we were listening to this. I think we were listening to 1989 a lot at the time with our oldest. She was still like 4 years old or something like that. And so we
Okay.
get off the plane coming back when we get back into the Houston airport, and she's like got her little suitcase, and you can hear her. She's saying, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. She just hear her like singing the song to herself. That's what people say, over and over again.
Sounds like my 8-year-old is doing the same thing right now with Wicked, with this
Oh, the Wicked
Defying Gravity.
soundtrack.
Yeah,
Oh gosh,
like
I feel
she'll
for you
just
there.
she'll just every once in a while just make up. It is she ends up saying gravity, but I don't know what she's saying right before it. So
Mm.
she gets the general idea, but yeah.
My wife put that song. We were driving in the car, and my wife put Gravity on the radio, and I look over, and I go, 7.5 minutes. Are you kidding me? I was like, what?
What
It's
is
like
this?
the Taylor Swift 10-minute version. Why don't we just listen to All Too Well?
Oh man, that's awesome. That's
All right,
awesome.
Paul, you got two picks here.
Okay, so I'm gonna take one of my oldest daughter's favorites, and that is Wonderland.
Okay.
This is off of oh gosh, what album is it on?
Ooh, I remember this one. My
It's on
my
1989. It's on the
okay.
1989 album.
Yes. My daughter really
Yeah.
liked this one as well. This was one that she
Yeah.
would sing a lot.
Yeah, and it is a very good. It has a good like halftime beat to it in the chorus. And then I guess for my next pick, I will take another one of a favorite here in the house, and that's Bad Blood.
Oh, that's a good one.
That
That
one
was
is
on
about
that's on my list.
yeah, that one's about Katy Perry, I believe.
Yes.
That's yeah. I think they have since reconciled, but
I think so. I think so.
I'm not caught up on my
We
yeah.
could
Bad Blood is
also
go ahead.
featuring Kendrick Lamar.
Oh, there
There's
is
a
yeah, there is
version.
a
There's a
version.
version
There
of
is a
that with
version.
Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah, there you go. That ties into the Super Bowl, right? Because that's the
Exactly.
see, we're on another level here at Bless Them Boys.
That's right. Okay, I've got two picks here. I know one song that I want. I'm trying to think of the other one. I'm going to go. The one that I know that I want is a little bit more. I don't know if this is a deep cut or not. I don't think it was on the radio, but I'm going to go with "Invisible String," which is from the Folklore album, which
Okay.
I didn't like, but I like this song.
Let's see.
Let me ask you this. Did that make your wife's list?
That's what I'm looking right now. Let's see.
I was wondering if I would like pull anything that like didn't make the 100 song cut.
Yeah, no, that invisible string is not on the
Ooh,
playlist.
yeah. Please inform your wife that I've selected something off the beaten path here.
You pulled an invisible string that was not on the. Let me see here. Add to playlist. Yeah, no, it was that. That's a new one.
There we go.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think I'd have to go back and confirm with my wife, but I think she said the Folklore album was not one of her. Yeah, I mean,
I didn't.
I mean, she liked it, but yeah, she just.
I listened to the last album and I couldn't get
the
into
tortured
it.
tortured poets.
Tortured Poets. I felt pretty tortured. I'm not a poet, but I felt tortured. And so for the last song, I think I'm going to go with the one. Uh, oh man, I'm going to go with something off her first album. I'm going to go with Our Song.
Okay, this one was on my wife's.
Yeah, this one's pretty popular.
Pretty
I
sure,
think
yeah.
this was one of her like better ones off of her first album, which I believe is called Taylor Swift.
Yeah. This was yeah, so my wife had two off of that first album. It was Our Song and Picture to Burn.
Oh, that's a good one. You know they changed the lyrics in that one.
No, didn't know.
So there was so in the original version she said so go and tell your friends that I'm obsessive and crazy. That's fine. I'll tell mine you're gay. And by the way, they changed
Oh.
it to uh what was it? The tell your friends that I'm obsessive and crazy. Um that's fine. You won't mind if I say, which is a lot less. Yeah, so
Yeah,
they
so
changed
that
it.
was so they went they so the first version was the asleep version, and then the woke version was
That is correct.
gotcha.
The sleep version like goes harder, if I may say so.
Yeah.
So
Send your tweets to @ball from Grace.
let's lock the account over here first.
Yeah, right. Okay, so I've got one pick left.
You've got one pick left.
Okay, so I'm going to take this is one that I kind of found on my own.
All right.
And it's from what album? Let me make sure I get the album right here. Give me a second. Go to album. This is from the Evermore album,
Okay.
and it's called Tolerate It.
I don't even know if I know that one.
It's I think it's a deep cut. So the reason I became aware of this song, it was featured on a YouTube channel. There's a YouTube channel by a musician named David Bennett, and he kind of does music theory videos. Like he kind
Uh-huh.
of talks about like different types of chord progressions, different types of time signatures, like these kind of like music theory topics. And he featured this song "Tolerated" in one of his videos. And that's how I
Hmm.
became aware of it. So, and it's a really good song. I would recommend
I'm looking at
checking that.
the track listing for this album, and the only song that I really remember is Willow. And
Okay.
I can't even think of how that song goes off the top of my
Yeah,
head.
yeah, it did make my wife's Willow did make my wife's list here.
I think that
Um,
I think I will say the so wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we both made our picks.
right.
I will say the one song that I was thinking of that I didn't end up drafting was Mine. Um,
Okay.
off of gosh, what album was that off of? That was off of Speak Now, which I used when I like proposed to my wife.
Oh, okay.
And so
Very cool.
ended up with Our Song anyway, but that's
Oh,
the
okay.
so
You mentioned the Tortured Poets department.
yes.
The
Uh-huh.
one song off of there that I know my wife really likes is
Florida.
Florida with
Yes, I
yeah.
was talking to somebody about that today. I said the one song that I actually like could tolerate off of that
And
song was or
and I
off that album
remember
was
well, I
Florida.
remember when my wife got the album, and she was playing it for the first time, and I got to that song, I'm like, "Is that Florence and the
It
Machine?"
is Florence and the
Like,
Machine.
I hadn't heard them in a while,
Oh man,
man.
Florence and the Machine have some jams though.
They did. It
Yeah,
was on my running playlist. Started with
Dog Days Are Over.
yep, Dog Days Are Over. Yep.
Yeah,
That was
that is still on my running playlist.
starts with that little I don't know if it's like a ukulele or like a whatever
Uh-huh.
that string instrument is that they're playing there at the beginning, but that little riff. But yeah. All right.
So,
So just want to recap real quick our picks. You want to
yeah.
You go ahead
So,
with yours.
all right, I took "You Belong with Me," "Shake It
Mm-hmm.
Off," "Invisible String," and "Our Song."
Very cool. And I took All Too Well, 10-minute version, Wonderland, Bad Blood, and Tolerate It. So that's yeah. Make sure we notate that it's
Yeah,
the 10-minute
we don't want
version.
people thinking that you're some
Right.
lay person just drafting drafting the regular
I am
version.
in. How did George say that in one episode? I am in the game. I am in the.
He's like, what are you like going to
We
the meat packing plant where they're having the secret society of models over there?
right. Uh, we I know we've talked about this off mic, but we maybe should bring it up now. Seinfeld 4, of the Seinfeld 4, Kramer would definitely be a Swiftie.
Yes, I
He would
think George
definitely
would
be
be
like,
a closet one though.
well, that was going to be my next thing. So Kramer would be all about it.
Yep,
George would either George or Jerry would be a closet Swiftie, and then Elaine would be
Like
dating
Melrose Place.
right, and then Elaine would be dating a guy who's a Swiftie,
Mm.
right?
It's like I'm
I
out.
think
It's like I'm here and he's out shaking it off.
yeah. So that I think somebody I'd have to go. I have to go back and look at if anybody has not checked out the subreddit Reddit writes Seinfeld or Modern
Uh-huh.
Seinfeld. Somebody came up with a prompt of like or a script of like a Taylor Swift based Seinfeld episode. I think it revolved around like George was selling tickets to the Eras tour. I don't remember. It was something,
Mm.
something out there. Um, but yeah, so that'll do it for that. Now, like we mentioned, we don't have a game to preview this week, but I did want to introduce maybe perhaps a new segment that we can workshop here
For the springtime at
for the
least.
for
I'm
the for
watching
the
the Watchers, Derek.
Oh, sorry, Kramer.
no, sorry about that, Kramer. Yeah, yeah. So for the non-playing season, as they call it, what I thought we could do is look at. So for this week, we're going to look at a mock draft, specifically Daniel Jeremiah, who, for those that don't know, Daniel Jeremiah is a longtime NFL draft expert. He did work for, I believe, the Ravens once upon a time
Mhm.
in their scouting department, and he is the lead draft analyst, as it were, for NFL Network. And
Mhm.
he does mock drafts throughout the draft cycle. I think he ends up with, I want to say 5 or 6 when it's all said and done. And he released his 1.0 mock draft last week. And we'll kind of obviously focus on the Saints and the Cowboys a little bit, but we'll also talk about other ones as well. So for the
They're the
Saints,
watchers. Yeah, they're the
yes,
watchers. And we are,
yes,
as Kramer says, we are going to watch the watchers.
I'm watching the Watchers, Derek. Uh-oh.
that.
Uh-oh.
Oh man, it's an underrated. That's the secret code episode, in case anybody's
Bosco.
yeah, in case anybody wants to go watch it. So the Saints, just to remind everyone, the Saints hold the number 9 at the moment, hold the number 9 overall pick. The Cowboys are number 12, right?
Yep. Roger Staubach.
So, yep, there you go. So Daniel Jeremiah has the Saints selecting with their pick Mikael Williams, who's an edge rusher from the University of Georgia. I've seen him mocked to the Saints in other drafts, not just Daniel Jeremiah's. I mean, listen, the Saints need help anywhere they can get it at this point. I've seen other mock drafts where they go receiver, either Tetaroa McMillan from Arizona, who I believe is like the consensus number 1 receiver. I've even seen a mock draft. Well, in this mock draft, actually, I need to check that again because I want to say in his mock draft, the first receiver off the board is Longhorn Matthew Golden, but I
The
could be
golden boy.
wrong. I could be wrong. I feel like Tedero McMillan would have gone before Golden, but I'll have to double check that. But while
Yeah,
I'm vamping here,
Tedero McMillan is the first wide receiver off the
okay,
draft in his pick 8 to the Carolina Panthers.
okay, I just overlooked that. My apologies. I mean, technically, Travis Hunter, uh, could consider him the first because he's corner and a receiver. I think most people will view him as a corner primarily, probably like a Champ Bailey type or a Deion Sanders type, where plays corner and then they have some select plays.
Yeah, that's been my kind of premise. Like that's probably his best
Use.
situation for him. Yeah.
Just give me 1 second here. I'm looking up Mikhail Williams measurements here. So this is from Pro Football Focus. They have him listed as 6'5", 265 pounds. Had 5 sacks last year for the Georgia Bulldogs. 6 sacks the year before that. 6 the year before that. So played mostly outside the tackle. So he's definitely a traditional what you
True
call an
edge.
edge rusher, true edge. Those measurements sound about right for the Saints. The Saints usually like the bigger defensive ends. But I mean,
That could
with the way
change
this
based on who
that could
you're
change,
hiring.
who they're hiring. That's really if they do end up. And you and I have texted about this, but if they do end up going with Kellen Moore as their head coach, which I don't know, it might be by default at this point. Who they bring in as their defensive coordinators? I know Mike Kafka. We talked about our boy Mike
Mr.
Kafka.
Franz Kafka.
Yeah. So he actually spoke today at the Senior Bowl. He's there coaching one of the teams for the Senior Bowl. He's the head coach, and somebody brought up him interviewing for the Saints, and he was very, very nice with his feedback about it's a great organization and yada yada yada. But he didn't want to go into any detail. It was reported over the weekend that if Mike Kafka got the job, he would look to bring Wink Martindale as his defensive coordinator, who
There you go.
he was with the Giants. He's currently with the University
Do you like
of
to
Michigan.
blitz, Paul? Do you like to blitz?
Well, I mean,
let me tell you something. You're going to blitz.
Yeah, well, as long as we don't bring the bounties back, I guess don't get in trouble. We'll be all right. For the Cowboys at number 12, let me know. Tell me how you feel about Ashton Genty, the running back from Boise State.
Well, it sucks.
Really, I was not expecting that.
So like I like Genty.
Okay.
I don't like picking him at 12.
Okay.
I would rather my like best situation is like because if you're drafting at 10, or at 12, like you're drafting him in the top 15 of the first round, you're paying him pretty good money on that rookie contract for a running back. I'd rather try to get some. And this draft has a lot of like talent that you can get in the second and third round. Like, I'm not as huge a fan of him, but Scadabo's there. Travion Henderson is the guy that I really like because I think they need somebody with a little bit. Like Rico Dowdle is good for grinding out yards between the tackles and getting kind of the tough yards, but he doesn't have the home run ability. So Travion Henderson's the guy that I would like them to get because he's got that burst. And that's what they really need out of the backfield right now. I'd prefer to go with Burden. Burden's the guy that I really like.
That's Luther Burden III.
Yes.
Yeah.
The burden of proof, as it were.
Burden of proof. Wide receiver out of Missouri. Yeah.
Yeah, the Miami guy is also
Xavier Restrepo.
Yeah. I couldn't figure out how to pronounce that.
So
he's had some good clips coming out of Senior Bowl day one.
Yeah. Well, the two Miami, so him and then the tight end from Miami,
the tight end,
Elijah Arroyo. We were talking about this off mic, looking a lot like another former Miami Hurricane who ended up playing for the Saints. And I'm not talking about Jeremy Shockey. I'm talking about Jimmy Graham. I'll throw a couple other receiver names out there for you. Emeka Abuka from Ohio
Mm-hmm.
State.
Ohio State. Yeah.
He There was a lot of talk he might have come out last year and been a first round pick, and he went back to school. And I mean, look, Ohio State. If Ohio State can produce anything, it's wide receivers, right? I mean,
They
Garrett
churned them out
Wilson,
they churned them
Chris
out.
Olave, Terry McLaurin. List goes on. We mentioned Matthew Golden from
Mm-hmm.
Texas. We talked about Tedero McMillan. I'll also throw out Alik Ayu Manor. Ayu Manor, I think is how you pronounce it, from Stanford. Alec Ayu. I'm not going to butcher his name anymore. He was supposed to be at the Senior Bowl this week. He's 6'2", 210 pounds. Kind of that big body receiver. Really good in the run game. They were hoping to get a good look at him. When I say they, I just mean NFL teams. We're hoping to get a good look at him this week at the Senior Bowl, but unfortunately, I believe I don't think it's a serious injury or anything. I think he just opted out of it. And then I'll also just throw in Jack Betch from TCU. It might be
Uh-huh.
Beck. His brother was the one that was killed in the New Orleans. You may have seen a story on ESPN or NFL Network. His brother was named Tiger Beck.
Uh-huh.
He was killed in the New Orleans terrorist attack.
Oh.
Their family is from Lafayette, which is where I'm from, or from my hometown. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how I knew his name. And if you watch the Senior Bowl on Saturday, you'll see that everybody's wearing a 7 with like a tiger stripe on the back of their
Uh-huh.
helmet, and that's in honor of his brother. So I just want to mention him. Someone else that showed pretty good at the Senior Bowl today too. I saw a couple clips. Tez Johnson from Oregon.
Uh-huh.
Not a big guy, but gets open. He's one of those.
Right.
Just he's
Shifty.
going to get open. Shifty. He'll get open. He's 5'10", 165 pounds, but can get open. So if you're looking for receivers, they're there. You mentioned running back. Running back is loaded.
Yes. And see,
Genty, yeah,
that's why I feel like you don't need to spend a first round pick on
yeah,
it.
yeah. I'm going to say this: the Saints will never do this, but we joked about them trading up. I really hope this year they just decide to trade back. If maybe a player slips and they trade back, like I said, they just need help everywhere. So like if they could get some more draft capital.
How if the Saints trade back, would you pass out from shock?
Maybe not pass out, but I would be excited about. I mean, depending on what did they pass up? Like if they're passing up,
Hey, look,
you know,
Abdul Carter fell to us. Let's trade back.
right now that would be I wouldn't be too happy about that one, but
Yeah.
because Abdul Carter looks like going back to Daniel Jeremiah's draft, he has Abdul Carter going number 1 overall to Tennessee. Now, a lot of people are of the belief that Tennessee's going to go quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
We've had our fun talking about our good friend Will Levis this season, but
It's
it
over.
doesn't look. Yeah, well, it doesn't look like the new general manager that they hired from the Chiefs, Borzinski, I believe is his name. I think I saw somewhere where in his opening press conference he said, "Look, we're not going to pass up a generational talent," is how he
Right.
put it.
Yeah,
Which
and
is code.
that's what Jeremiah said.
Yeah. Well, and that's code for, hey, if you want to trade up to come get Travis Hunter, come on, let's talk.
Yeah.
Or if you want to trade up to get Cam Ward or Shador Sanders, let's talk. I did find it interesting, and this is not the first draft I've seen this. He has Shador dropping all the way to the Raiders at 6.
I've started to see some draft people. I think Brugler was talking, and he said he thinks that Ward is gonna end up way ahead of Shador, and
Yeah.
I don't think NFL people are very high on Shador right now.
I don't see Cam Ward getting past 3 with the Giants.
Yeah.
It looks like, because the thought at the end of the season, the thought was the Titans at 1, the Browns at 2 were going to pick quarterbacks, and the Giants are going to be left out. That may not be the case now. In this draft, they've got Daniel Jeremiah's got Travis Hunter going at 2 to the Browns. I just think this quarterback class is not. There's nothing to like really lose your mind over. I'll bring up the name Jackson Dart. I think I brought him up last week. He's at the Senior Bowl this week. Looked like he had a pretty good day of practice. And I would not be shocked if he ends up going top 10. Just because, look, we all know this, right? You have to get a quarterback if you want to compete in this league. And teams are in a hurry, it seems at times, to like find that quarterback, even if it's even if they got like Daniel Jones went 6 overall, like let's for what that's worth. So I also wanted to bring up we talked about drafting a running back like number 12. He has a tight end from Penn State, Tyler Warren, going to the Jets at 7. That's another tight end's another position you don't see that going top 10 very often.
No, unless it's somebody with like supposedly generational talent like Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, I was going to say Kyle Pitts comes to mind.
Yeah.
But Tyler Warren is definitely a player that kind of caught my eye at Penn State. He's kind of a jack of all trades. He's good in the run game, blocking, good catch. He's almost like the inverse of Taysom Hill, whereas Taysom Hill is a quarterback that became a tight end. It's like just imagine if Taysom Hill had started as a tight end, and that's basically Tyler Warren. Because now I've heard some people say maybe he's a little overrated, but
maybe the Raiders can draft him to pair with their other tight ends.
There you
Build
go.
the whole team out of tight ends.
Why not? That is another team, by the way, I've seen Genty mock to is the Raiders, which if
he comes off the board before 12, I will be thrilled.
Well, there you go.
Good for him, and also good for me.
Well, I guess we should kind of talk about this too. Like in your mind, what are I kind of mentioned with the Saints, like they kind of need help everywhere. I mean, I guess if you had to ask me what are their needs, quote unquote, I would say defensive line, pass catcher. So not just receiver. If you can
anybody
can catch the ball and stay healthy. And then I would also say maybe secondary. We obviously lost Marshawn Lattimore. That didn't work out for Washington too good, but that's another story.
That's a shame.
That's a shame.
I saw a tweet. I saw a tweet that said it said Mike Evans when he sees Marshawn Lattimore fighting with another receiver, and it was a picture of a house, and it said "Welcome home, cheater."
I thought I saw the one was like the SpongeBob one where they're the guy's up in he's looking down.
Oh, the Squidward's watching SpongeBob.
Yeah, and
that's a good one too.
Mike Evans is Squidward and
SpongeBob and Patrick and Marshawn and whoever he was fighting this stuff.
AJ Brown.
Yes.
But yeah, for the Saints, pass catcher, defensive back, safety, edge rusher. I mean, I guess look, depending on what happens with Carr, I guess you could put quarterback in there too. I don't know. But
yes.
What about the Cowboys? What do you see as their big needs?
Wide receiver. I think you do need some juice at running back that you can spend like a day 2 pick on. Defensive interior, you probably DeMarcus Lawrence missed most of the season. He's getting up there in age, so you probably need to look for. I think defensive line help. I think the interior is the most important thing. I'm hoping that they can re-sign Osa Odigizua. That'll be a big one. And then I think you always need cornerback depth, especially with the way that the Trayvon Diggs thing's gone. So that's going to be something.
Well, you don't want to rely on Andrew Booth.
That's going to be a big pass for me. They actually had some guys that came in to fill in for Diggs that were good and then got hurt, like the kid out of Michigan State that tore his ACL. Like
Oh
that
yeah,
was
yeah,
Butler, I think. Was it Josh Butler?
yeah. I will say, from a cornerback perspective, there are a couple of secondary players that are maybe top 10 worthy. Will Johnson from Michigan, Malachi Starks from Georgia, who's a safety.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that name a good bit. There's a guy from your Longhorns,
Texas, yeah,
Barron. Jade
yeah.
Barron.
Roddy Barron.
Uh, Jade Barron.
What?
Yeah,
There's
he's
don't they
getting.
have they have another cornerback that's also coming out that's
Oh
supposed
yeah.
to be
No, no.
um
Hang on. It's a safety. Oh, hold on. Let me just give me a second. I'm gonna get there. Andrew Makuba.
Makuba. Yes, I like Makuba
Makuba.
too. Yeah, Makuba's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah. I believe he's at the Senior Bowl this week. I believe, or I thought I
Mm.
saw his name. I've also Benjamin Morrison from Notre Dame. He's a top corner. Xavier Watts, who he made a couple plays in the national championship game. He kind of had a couple. Maybe it wasn't the national championship game. It was the game against Penn State, but
Mm.
he's a safety from Notre Dame. And I'll just mention we talked about your golden boy, Matthew Golden. Jeremiah has him going 21 to the Steelers. We know the Steelers can always use
Wide receiver,
receiver. Yeah.
especially one
And
that
then
won't go insane on the field like like Mr. Pickens.
Slim Pickens. Yeah. Look, so throughout the season, we'll kind of get these mock drafts and kind of we may even do a couple mock drafts of our own, maybe
Yeah,
as we get
then we'll be
closer
the
to the.
watchers.
We'll be the watchers. Yeah, we will. Um, okay, so we don't have any games to preview. Like I said, the Senior Bowl's this week. East West Shrine game is on Thursday, I believe, at
Mhm.
in Frisco, Texas. But I thought I would close the show out since I've spent a lot of time yelling at the Saints. Thought I might close the show out with a happy story about the Saints, if that's okay.
All right, and after
Uh,
that, I've got a couple of shout outs.
oh yeah, that's right, that's right. So this week I mentioned it in our patron saint of the week, Mr. Garrett Hartley. This past week it was been 15 years. It was the NFC Championship game, Saints against the Vikings, which in retrospect led to the Bounty Gate investigation.
Mhm.
I don't know if you saw Brett Favre spoke out on Twitter this week about his thoughts, and he basically said like, "Yeah, it was nothing. Like people need to calm down about it." But just to give you my perspective, so you have to understand, as a Saints fan, there was pretty much 40 years of nothing. Uh,
I believe they
team was
call that
founded.
wandering in the desert when it lasts for 40 years.
Yep, pretty much. I mean, we had won a couple playoff games here and there. We had been through the whole Ditka trading the entire draft to get Ricky Williams. We had been through Jim Haslett, who, you know, God bless him. He just happened to be the coach when Katrina happened, and
Mhm.
they moved on from him. And one thing I will say, I actually wanted to mention this. We were talking about the coaches, but I got too fired up yelling at Mickey Loomis. So in 2005, after the the hurricane, basically made it to where we didn't even know if the Saints would stay in New Orleans. There was talk of them
Mhm.
moving, and then that off season, uh, I remember when they were looking for a coach. One of the names that came up, and the guy that I wanted them to hire, honestly, was Mike Singletary. Remember Mike Singletary?
I do remember Mike Singletary. He
And I was really like, oh yeah, this guy can be a culture guy. I kind of compared it to. I'm not saying they're the same coach. I'm not saying that this guy will end up being Mike Singletary, but I kind of compared it to Aaron Glenn. Like
uh-huh.
it could be that kind of culture
For Gary and Glenn's
hire.
sake, I hope.
No, no. Like I said, I don't think Aaron Glenn's going to end up that way. But I just from my perspective, that's how I kind of thought of it. And then the Saints ended up hiring Sean Payton, who was a offensive coordinator from who had played football at a small school, had his offensive play calling duties taken away from him at one point in his coaching career. And if this sounds familiar, yes, Kellen Moore fits that same description for what it's worth. Now, Boise State is a little bit bigger school than Eastern Illinois. I will grant you.
They have won a bowl game.
Well, there you go. So, but all that to say, we go through all that, hire Peyton. We signed Drew Brees, which actually, I don't know if you saw this. Nick Saban was on Ryan Clark's podcast, and he talked about, because Nick Saban was the coach of the Dolphins in 2006, and he basically had to make the choice between Drew Brees or Dante Culpepper. And the way Saban tells the story is he flew to Alabama, to Birmingham, to speak with Dr. Jim Andrews, because Jim Andrews had done he had done both surgeries. He did Brees' surgery and he did Culpepper surgery. And he asked him, he said, is Brees going to be okay? And he said, yeah, Brees will be fine. He said, Culpepper, his recovery might be a little bit, I forget the word he used, but like Culpepper may have a tougher time because of the surgery he had. So Saban goes back to Miami and he's like, yep, we're going to sign Brees. They bring Drew Brees in the building. And the doctors from the Dolphins would not pass Drew Brees for a physical.
I remember that it came down to the physical, but I didn't know the story about Saban going to see him.
Yeah, Drew. Well, I didn't know this part either. I had never heard Saban talk about this before this interview. This is on Ryan Clark's The Pivot podcast, I believe it's called. So Brees is in the building. They've got the contract ready to sign, and they just will not pass his physical. So Brees' agent asks Saban, says, look, can you please keep this quiet for like 48 hours? Because they knew they had the Saints in the back
The
pocket
fallback plan.
as a fallback plan. Now the Saints, I guess, passed them on the physical, or I don't know how that, because
Mickey Loomis was doing the examination.
Though that was the big what if of that offseason. Because if Brees signs with the Dolphins, Nick Saban probably stays coaching in the NFL, honestly.
Right.
But yeah, that's the big what if. So Brees goes to New Orleans. He teams up with Peyton. That they go 10-6 that season. They make it to the NFC Championship game against the Bears. Come up a little bit short. 2009 comes along. They start the season 13-0. From a personal perspective for me, I met my wife in April of 2009. So that was like the first full season of football that we watched together. And we would go to a little.
What happened after they were 13-0?
I'm getting there. Just hold your horses. Don't make me. I'm going to yell at you like Mickey Loomis. Give me something here, okay? I got no coach. I got nothing going. I'm trying
Our pets' heads are falling off.
You're right. So my wife and I would go to the same bar in Nacogdoches, Texas, every Sunday to watch the Saints. And I remember there was a Dolphin game. They were playing the Dolphins that year, and the Dolphins go up like 21-0 or something. It was right before halftime, and I remember telling my wife, well, let's see if they score right before halftime. If they don't score, we'll leave. If they score, then we'll stay. They ended up scoring. We stayed. They came back and won the game. It was going away. Like, ended up like it was, and then that it was. I think that was the game that was like, okay, this might be a different season.
That sounds like the what is it, Texans Dolphins game where the Texans were up like 21-0, and then the Dolphins came back and like blew them out in the second half.
Well, I mean, that was the Chiefs. There was the Chiefs playoff game.
Yeah, but it happened in the regular season. I want to say that was the year that the Texans started 2-0 and then went 2-14.
That could be it. And then there was a Monday night game in New Orleans. I mean, I didn't even mention the Steve Gleason blocking the punt in 2006, that one. But in the 2009 season, there was a Monday night game. Saints were playing the Patriots. And I remember thinking, like, man, if we can beat the Patriots, then we might have something. And they go out and just demolish the Patriots. I had never seen the Patriots team. This is Belichick and Brady, like prime Belichick and Brady.
Mm-hmm.
And the Saints go out and just beat them pretty soundly. And then, yes, after the 13-0 start, there was a Saturday game in December against the Cowboys.
DeMarcus Ware, heroic return after being carted off the week prior.
Are you done?
That was great. What a game.
Yeah.
What a performance by Mr. Ware.
Yeah. And then Saints lose their last 3 games, including a home game to Tampa where Mr. Hartley, as we mentioned earlier, he actually missed the field goal that would have won the game late against Tampa. Well, he made up for it in the NFC Championship game. And I was going to tell you a little bit about that NFC Championship game, and I told you this off mic before. That NFC Championship game aged me probably 5 years because I just remembered thinking, and I had this the whole season, but I just remember thinking, like, these opportunities don't come around every year, especially in the NFC. Like, if you look at the turnover in the NFC, like, the same teams are not going back every year. Like, we look at the 49ers this year. Like, they have this year from hell with injuries, and they don't get back. So I just kept thinking, like, man, if we don't make it this year, like, it may not happen.
Uh-huh.
And right before halftime of that game, there was a punt. The Vikings punted, and Reggie Bush, God bless him, muffs the punt, and the Vikings recovered it. There was a computer chair. I was standing right by a computer chair, and I punched it as hard as I could, and I thought I broke my hand. Like, I'm not kidding. I thought I was. But then luckily, like 2 plays later, Adrian Peterson fumbles it. Saints recover. No harm, no foul. The only reason the Saints really won that game is the Vikings turned the ball over like 5 times, including.
We've seen that this playoffs, right? Like,
right, yeah.
Teams have just turned the ball over too many times, and that's what's killed them.
Look at the Ravens Bills. Right, Ravens don't turn the ball over against the Bills. They probably win that game.
Yep.
And then obviously, Vikings get into field goal. I remember the Vikings were in field goal range in the 4th quarter. Clock's running out. It's like all they got to do is kick a field goal. Game's over. Favre rolls out to his right, throws it across the middle. Tracy Porter, God bless him, intercepts it. And I remember almost being mad because I was like, oh, man, now we got to go to overtime. We're just going to lose it in overtime. But this was the old overtime rules where if you scored first, it didn't matter. If you scored first, you won. So the Saints get the ball first. They go right down. Hartley kicks a field goal, and that's it. And I remember when he's lining up for the field goal, I'm not exaggerating. I got down on my knees as if I was praying in front of the television. And as soon as I saw the ball go through the uprights, I just fell down, just face forward onto the floor, and just was like, and I was exhausted. I had nothing
you want to
left.
be my latex salesman.
Exactly, man. That was it. I was so drained. And I remember, and then, of course, this was like the early stages of Twitter, I want to say.
Uh-huh.
And I remember somebody tweeted out the call from Jim Henderson, who was the voice of the Saints for years. Hell's frozen over, pigs have flown, hell's frozen over, Saints are going to the Super Bowl. It gives me chills every time to hear it. And the weird thing, and then I'll never forget my wife. God bless her. I don't know why she stayed with me after this. My wife, she looked at me. She goes, "Oh, so the Super Bowl's next week?" I was like, "No, it's in 2 weeks." She goes, "You have to wait 2 weeks?" She's like, "You're not going to make it." And lo and behold,
I'll start getting the funeral arrangements ready. I'll alert the next of kin.
Well, alert the Saints. I want the Saints to be my pallbearers so they can let me down.
Let me down one last time. Okay,
but
so
yeah, that was Go ahead.
No, go ahead, finish your, and then I'll tell
No,
you
I was
the.
just going to say, I remember for the Super Bowl, the only thing I remember was like they were in it. They stayed in it in the first half, and then halftime. I remember the Who. The Who were the halftime performers that year,
Uh huh.
and I remember just kind of getting settled in. And I turned away from the TV and I look back and I see
This is the
people
onside
fighting
kick.
the onside kick, and I'm like, wait, what just happened? Like, what are we doing? And yeah, and when Tracy Porter intercepted Peyton Manning in the Super Bowl and is running
Uh
it
huh.
back, I just remember jump. I've never jumped that high in my life. I'm not kidding. My wife was living in a like an apartment complex, and she was on the bottom floor, and I remember. I'm pretty sure my head hit the ceiling.
I was gonna say, did the
I'm not
plaster fall down from the?
I'm not joking, man. Like I never, and I was because I was just like I just was like, and then I remember thinking, wait, is there a flag? Is there a flag? Like because if you go back and watch that play, Will Smith, it looks like Will Smith blocks Peyton Manning in the back on the return.
Uh huh.
It looks like it's a block in the back, but they didn't call it.
Oh, so the refs actually did you a solid on that one.
Yeah, maybe that's what you know. What that's
That's
probably what it is. We're
that's the
just
so that was the karma was the
right.
Rams call on the, which I think you would probably take every time, right?
And I probably at that I'm sure there was one or two times that season where I was like, you know what, I'll take whatever repercussions we get. And
Yeah.
so, but I will say real quick before you go,
Uh-huh.
every fan deserves that feeling of
No.
at least
That's not true. No.
almost every fan.
The Eagles fans do not.
Eagles fans maybe not. But almost every fan deserves that feeling of seeing your team. And I've been blessed in my life. I've seen all three of my teams win championships: the Saints, the Mavericks, and the Astros. I've seen all three of them. And every fan deserves to see their team win a championship. But like basketball and baseball are different. For football, like I hope every fan except the Eagles
Mhm.
sees. Well, they've seen it. They've it's happened.
I know. Don't remind me, Paul. Don't
So
remind me.
I just wanted to
Anyway.
end. I wanted to end this episode on a positive note in terms of the Saints. So,
All right,
what
so
you got, Brent?
first I found I knew there was a Miami Texans game or Dolphins Texans game where there were like two big runs somehow.
Yep.
So but it was not how I imagined it. It was so the Dolphins started the game in the first half by going up 41-0, and
Wow.
then the Texans scored 20 points unanswered. And that was, I
Okay.
mean, that was it. I mean, they still lost by
Oh,
20
okay. Okay.
points.
So
They still lost
I
by
was like,
20 points.
they came back from
They didn't
41 to nothing.
they did not come
Jeez.
back from 41.
I'm pretty sure I would remember that one.
Yeah. Okay, so my story of the week, because today is this episode will be titled the birthday party, because today is the official founding of the Cowboys. Now, I say that they started on September 24th, 1960, because September 24th, that's when they played their first game.
Okay.
September
Yep.
24th is also my birthday. So,
Happy birthday, buddy.
yeah, but the Cowboys officially came into existence on this day 55 years ago now. But are you familiar with the Cowboys' origin story and how they got the team?
I am not.
Okay, so the Washington franchise, as you know, originally had they have a fight song. Are
Okay.
you familiar with that? The hell to the
Yes, I don't know the words, but I'm familiar with. Yeah, I am
um,
aware. I am aware that
I'm
they.
aware. Yeah, so
Yeah.
there was I knew a guy back in my hometown, and he was a big fan. And so one time after the Cowboys beat them, he came to one of my classes at school and like sang the fight song to me. Anyway, so they have the fight song. Well, there was the he didn't want to allow a team in the South because he was the southernmost team at that point. They were the southernmost
Okay.
team at that point. And so he wanted to maintain market share there. So he didn't want to allow a team in the South. Well, so they came to the NFL with the proposal for this franchise, and they had everyone on board except for him. Well, the thing
This
is,
this is the owner of the Washington franchise.
yes, correct, the
Okay.
original.
Okay. The original. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they the 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 thing was he didn't have his fight song copyrighted. So
Okay.
the guys who were trying to get the Cowboys franchise established went and got the copyright to the song. And they said, if you don't give us our franchise, you can't play your song anymore. And so he had to vote to allow the Cowboys to form to get his song back.
Huh.
So they held him hostage, and that's how the Cowboys came into existence.
So, that's a pretty good story. That could
One of the
almost
better,
be a
I would say that's one of the better origin stories of franchises.
I would absolutely say so. I mean, the Saints, it was just we founded them on All Saints Day, and
Oh, there you
that was
go.
that was it.
I used to
Yeah,
when I was a kid, I didn't understand why they were not called the Bananas.
the Saints.
Yeah, the helmet. It looks like a banana.
Oh, the fleur de lis. Yeah, okay, yeah, I got you.
Yeah, I thought that was a banana on the helmet. I was like, why are they called the Saints? Why do they why do they have a banana on the helmet?
Oh boy, that's good.
my youngest child, she thinks whenever she sees the Dolphins logo, she says that's the whales.
The whales. Okay.
The whales, yeah. It's an
Well,
aquatic mammal, so
is the hockey team the Hartford Whales? That's not, they're not still.
no, they're not. They're not an NHL franchise.
They moved to, were they the ones that moved to Phoenix and become the Coyotes?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Or I thought they moved somewhere.
You're asking
Anyway,
me about hockey history. You may be barking up the wrong tree.
well,
Let's
I
see.
mean, look, I mean,
Hartford
you grew
Whalers.
you grew up close to Dallas, and you have a hockey team. I was in Louisiana. We ain't got no hockey team. Well, we did have
I have seen the Stars win a Stanley Cup, so I have that. I got that
There
going
you go.
for me. So I've seen the Cowboys
I
win. I've seen the
I
Rangers
remember that.
win, which I think the Rangers winning is the most improbable of all the franchises that I root for.
What? And then so the only one is the Grizzlies. That's
The
the only one you
Grizzlies,
haven't.
yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I would kind of. I mean, I cheered for the Mavericks pretty hard in that finals, though. I will say that much.
So that finals, I remember my wife and I were in the process of moving during that finals,
Uh-huh.
and the AC in the apartment we were living in Nacogdoches, the AC broke,
Mm-hmm.
and they weren't going to be able to fix it until after we moved out. So we moved all of our stuff downstairs. So we
Uh-huh.
basically lived like the last week in Nacogdoches. We basically just lived on the floor downstairs. So I'm watching the finals on a mattress, like laying on a mattress on the living room floor of this apartment. And my wife, who is very much anti Dallas, just any Dallas team. I remember she one night
You
she
married this woman?
wore she one night she wore a Maverick shirt just for me, just to support the Mavericks. So that's
Gotta
when I knew
support
she
the
was.
Team.
Gotta, she did not. She did not
She
paint her
not
face.
paint her face.
She did not paint her face. No. But no, she. Yeah, no, she at least would support the Mavericks for that time.
The Hartford Whalers. Well, I guess we can end on the Hartford Whalers became the Carolina Hurricanes.
Okay. There you go. So we close loops here at Bless Them Boys. They can't.
We do.
They can say a lot of things about us, but they can't say we don't close loops.
That's correct.
All right. So next week we will be previewing the Super Bowl nobody wants to watch.
I know I don't.
Yeah, maybe we'll do. I think we batted around ideas about a draft. Maybe one around halftime performances.
Halftime shows. Yep.
Perhaps. And we'll maybe talk about some things we saw with the Senior Bowl, with the Shrine Bowl. I'm calling it now. The Saints will not have a coach by the time we reconvene.
I think you're probably right.
So maybe I'll yell about Mickey Loomis some more.
There we go.
More. But until then,
never have enough. You
yeah,
never have enough yell about him enough.
But until then, happy football, everyone.
Happy football.